Welcome to Adventures Gone Mad, your critical look at D&D books. I am Kyle W. here with my favoriteest host.
Hey, it's Kyle A. What's going on?
Hey, Kyle A. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's been a little bit since we've gotten together and talked about this. But I would say most things that have been happening are just in my work life and not in my personal life.
I have a somewhat D&D related surprise for you.
Uh-oh.
Or I shouldn't say somewhat D&D because it is D&D related. I don't know. This is very good podcast content, but I'm going to show you something. I don't know if it will. So I just showed Kyle the Blu-ray to Dungeons and Dragons 3, Das Buch der Dunkelschatten.
What the fuck? I mean, what?
So this is a Blu-ray of do you remember the Jeremy Irons D&D movie? The terrible one that was like, yes. I think like 2002, 2001.
Yes.
So there's a sequel to that is straight to DVD only. I think it's called Wrath of the Dragon King or something like that. There was a third movie that was created direct to video, only released on video in Germany. This was created in the United Kingdom, and then it was released direct to disc in Germany.
So let me get this straight. There's a second one, that was only released on disc, and I think I might have heard that might have been a thing, but my memory is sketchy at best on this. And then there's a third one that was made in the UK, but only released in Germany.
Yeah, so it was only released in Germany on disc.
Not in the UK, even though it was made in the UK.
I don't know why, but I do know that, I did take a few semesters of German, so I do know that what I just read translates to the Book of Dark Secrets, or something like that, which is funny, because that's in the Magic set, because my first thought was like, oh, that's the Book of Vile Darkness. That's probably what they call it, like the German translation.
Sure.
But then I looked up what the Book of Vile Darkness is called in German. And granted, I don't have like a German player's handbook to read. But what I do have is scryfall.com, which has all the German versions of all the Magic cards that were released. And there's a Magic card of the Book of Vile Darkness. And that is not what it is called. The Book of Vile Darkness in German is, I'm just going to have Google Translate read this. So here we go.
Buch der niederträchtigen Dunkelheit.
So that's what the Book of Vile Darkness is called in German. You can't hear it because I had to put it in post-production, but that's not the same thing I just read.
Okay, and did you watch that movie?
I have not watched it yet. So
okay,
at some point, I'm going to bring this over and we're going to watch this. And then we're going to give our review about the third D&D movie that came out.
Did you watch the second one? I mean, was this...
I have not seen the second one. I don't have that. If you want to do a triple view of...
We probably need to watch the second one first and then watch the third one.
Have you seen the first one?
Yes, it's been a very long time since I watched the first one.
It's horrible.
It is not very good.
We should just do a triple feature of all three of them if we're going to do two. Let's do it.
Oh my god. Okay, well, that's fine. We can do that. Yeah, we can figure out how to get the second one. That's insane.
But the thing I've heard about the second one is it's actually kind of not that bad compared to the first one.
Oh, okay.
I have no expectations about this other than it's probably about the Book of Vile Darkness. I can't read the back of this because I don't know German well enough. But it has German subtitles, but it's still in English. I don't know why it was released in Germany. I'm sure that there's like a really complex story. I tried to confirm why it was released only in Germany, but I found like a website that was selling it, like an import website, and I bought it for like $20, $30.
Well, now I feel like I need to research the first one to see if it actually made enough money to warrant having a second one. Like, how did that even happen? Like, it's not a very good movie, right? But maybe it made enough money to where they're like, well, we'll make a second one. And then maybe like the second one made enough money over DVD or whatever, like home sale. I don't know, whatever we call that they were like, oh yeah, no, we'll make a third one. Like, I don't know. Because I would think there had to be some kind of monetary reason.
There is like a huge history to the D&D movie because at least when I was reading Slaying of the Dragon about like the book about the history of TSR, like a lot of what Gary Gygax was doing at one point in TSR was schmoozing with people in Hollywood because at that time, like in order to be taken seriously, you had to be a Hollywood movie.
Right.
And like obviously the D&D cartoon came out of that, but like they really wanted to make a D&D movie and it never happened. So
right, I know. Yeah, I remember that.
I think the Jeremy Granted, there's like other people. I don't like Marlon Wayans is in it, but to me, it's like the Jeremy Irons D&D movie. But I think that was eventually the effort of that. You know, it was like 30 years after Gary Gygax was trying to do it, or whatever, 20 years. But
Right.
It's still like there's a really, really long history. But I mean, at the time the second one came out, I think like straight to DVD stuff and straight to video stuff was not super uncommon. So I don't know.
And they usually do it because the movie's not very good, and they know that they're not going to make a lot of money on it.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, just from looking at the back of this box, I'm going to assume not a huge budget was spent on this movie.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So we'll look forward to that. Maybe next time we reconvene, we'll have we'll discuss our double or triple viewing of the early D&D movies.
Okay, I'm down.
We'll have our review of Das Buch der Dunkelschatten. Before we get into When a Star Falls, I just wanted to read out one of our Spotify comments. This is from We Like to Party. Their comment is, "This is my favorite D&D podcast. When I was looking for a D&D podcast that would allow me to explore old school D&D modules room by room, I thought there was no chance. I started listening to Barrier Peaks, and I've listened to nearly all of them. Only later have I realized how important these are to me. Love you guys. Love the work. Don't ever stop."
Wow. Well, that's nice.
Yeah, so we appreciate hearing that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's great. We just do this for fun. We don't necessarily know if anybody's even listening to this, but we're very happy when people are actually excited to hear it, because we're excited to talk about it. So I don't know if other people are, but we definitely like talking about it.
I mean, one of us looks at numbers, so just saying. But yeah, we do appreciate it, and comments on Spotify, ratings on Apple Podcasts, just stuff like that really helps the algorithm. It helps us get out to people. There's nothing that will get us out there more than like telling our friends, or if you're listening to this, you probably have a D&D group. Tell your D&D group about us. We definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, they might enjoy us.
All right. So we're doing When a Star Falls by Graeme Morris. That is spelled Graeme, which is pronounced Graham, I believe. So I'm sorry if that is not pronounced Graham, but I'm pretty sure that's like a British spelling of Graham. This is a module from UKTSR. So we've done the Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh series, which is also from UKTSR, and we've noted when we read that there's like a very different style that's coming from UKTSR at this time. And this is one of my picks. The primary reason that I picked it is because, one, I wanted to read more UKTSR stuff, and I knew this was reprinted in 5th edition in the book, the Quest from the Infinite Staircase book, and I had initially heard that this has a really good adventure hook, and that's why I wanted to read it, basically.
That's awesome, and it does.
So this was released in 1984. Author is Graeme Morris. It looks like the art is from Jeremy Goodwin. This is a level range 6 to 8 for 3 to 5. Sorry, this is for 6 to 8 characters of levels 3 to 5. This is a new year for us, so I couldn't just copy paste one of our old years. In 1984, the highest grossing film, according to Box Office Mojo, is Ghostbusters. The highest grossing album is Thriller. We're going to change things up a bit due to how hard it is to determine the most popular video game in 1984. I'm just going to name multiple notable releases because I like video games. So notable releases this year: Punch-Out came out for the arcade, 1942 came out for the arcade, and Balloon Fight came out for the NES.
I never played Balloon Fight.
It's pretty good. You have heard the balloon. I guarantee you've heard the Balloon Fight theme because it's used on TikTok all the time.
Okay.
Like, guarantee next time I see you, I'll play the Balloon Fight theme for you, and you'll go, "Oh, I've heard that."
Oh, I've heard that. Yeah.
It has become a meme song. So, When a Star Falls, I don't really have anything for Dragon Magazine on this. I did look up. It only was mentioned really twice, and it was like, this is a good module. There's not really like, I like behind the scenes stuff, and it wasn't really like, it's not really worth going over. As I said earlier, this has been reprinted in D&D 5th edition. There's a collection called Quest from the Infinite Staircase. They are reprints of old adventures. So we have talked about it before with Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. That's in there. But this is also included in there as a 5th edition version of the game. So if you're playing 5th edition and you're interested in trying this adventure, there is a 5th edition version of this that has like, 5th edition monsters and there's a couple changes we'll go over, but it's available in 5th edition. All right, Kyle. So what is your like quick synopsis of When a Star Falls?
I think my quick synopsis, well, the best one I can come up with is religion is bad, but basically priests not getting along would have just, if they'd just gotten along, it would have worked out so much better. But the whole antagonist is religion is bad, I think, in this. That basically priests are terrible people.
Prophecies suck. Ignore them.
Yeah, just whatever, man. Like, why you gotta be like this? Why do you need power? Why do you gotta have power? Yeah, stop it. All right, Kyle, what is your synopsis of this module?
Mine is much more simple. Mine is, in this module, you fight giant Roombas.
Oh my God, it's true.
All right, so we've kind of talked about the UK TSR writing style. It's like, it's different, like, for sure. So in the introduction proper on page 2, we're kind of hit with a very different looking page. Like there's art of an arcane, some sort of arcane tower, wizard tower. And then there's like pages from a book that is the introduction of this, like the introduction and synopsis of this module that tells you what's going on. And we don't need to, I mean, cause we're going to go over this. So
yeah,
I mostly just wanted to talk about how different it looks.
Yeah, it does look really different. I mean, the start is kind of giving you an idea. I actually really like sort of how they started this module and how you're going to read it. And it's a nice little glossary essentially. I think that's well done.
Yeah, it looks like you're reading pages out of a book or like a newsletter or something for the adventure.
But even on page 3, when you go to the introduction, it's like, oh, okay, cool. It's like I understand where I'm going with all this, which is really nice.
Yeah, so page 2 we have the introduction. Moving to page 3, that's just the
Well, they give you a course. Like it's like, okay, this is how each section is divided up in the module, and I sort of like how there's a flow here that you don't have to follow.
Yes, it's sections 1 through 6, and it tells you like what's in each section. The thing that I wanted to note is that it tells you, because this adventure has a really unique introduction. So it tells you the adventure begins with an encounter between the party and the memory web. So when I read that, I was like, ooh, that's like, what is a memory web? That's cool. Like whatever this is, I'm a fan. And it kind of tells you like, hey, the party needs to be at this place on map 1. So like you can insert this. The setting for this, at least in the version that we're reading, for the 5th edition one, I think it's a little more like Forgotten Realms, Greyhawk stuff. I think it's Forgotten Realms, so we'll get to that. But this is like a very generic, like there's no specific setting this could be in, so you can insert this anywhere. And basically you just have to have your players fight this memory web thing. So it's basically telling you like, hey, if you're running a D&D game, maybe insert map 1 into your game and have them fight the memory web and the adventure will start.
Yeah.
And it also gives you 2 different ways to start the adventure. It says, here's a dramatic start to the adventure where the players basically see the shooting star on the way to the area that starts the adventure. And it says, for the less dramatic, just have them encounter the memory web.
Which I think is nice. You got to figure, it's sort of like, hey, what do you think your adventurers are going to like better?
Yeah, it gives you some options for sure, and it kind of talks about the geography too a little more about like the primary thing is that there's like a mountain and you're going to either go clockwise or counterclockwise, or as this book calls it, anti-clockwise, because British people wrote it. So as long as you have a mountain and this memory web encounter, you could basically insert this anywhere. So this adventure begins in earnest on page 4. In the chapter Death on the Moors.
All right, so really the start of the adventure is this. And this is the box text in the module. The moors, though bleak, have their own stark beauty. They rise and dip like waves of a frozen sea, with only occasional splashes of vivid yellow gorse, whatever that is, to relieve the dark green and purple of the blanketing heather. Like, this is the most British thing ever said.
Yeah, I did have to look up some of these words because, like, British TSR, they use different language than we do.
Yeah, I think it's fun to talk about this because it's like, oh, yeah, no, this is... it'd be fun to, like, say this to your 10-year-old playing group, you know? And they're just like, what?
Well, also, this is 1984.
Yeah.
And there's a bigger separation between how people in different countries talk because of the internet. Right. People talk... The internet and, like, shared media and stuff, people, like, talk more similarly than they did in 1980s. People don't think about that, but that's it's true.
Then continuing, coming to the top of yet another rise, you look down into the hollow beyond. There, highlighted against the heather, lie 4 unmoving white-robed figures in a mass of pile-clinging strands. So that's your start. That's like, hey, you either are following the shooting star or just all of a sudden you see this.
Yeah, you see 4 dead robed figures that are covered in a strange mass of strands. So the strands is a new creature that is created for this module. And I think, I mean, it might be in other, it might have been reprinted in like other monster manuals or something, but I think it's like unique to this adventure because I had never heard of it. It is a creature called the Memory Web that is some sort of strange psychic creature. And it actually describes that as at a distance, it looks the exact same as the web spell. So it looks like someone's like covered in spider web.
Yeah.
So when the players get about 100 feet from the adventurers that have been slayed by this thing, the memory web will, it is a creature. So it will launch itself towards the party and try to kill them. So this creature is special in that it is a psionic creature that feeds like telepathically on the memory of things. And once the party kills it, it makes a psionic shockwave that floods them with the memories of the people that it just killed. And that's the start of the adventure, is that the players absorb the memories of these 4 people.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So like, you know, all of a sudden this thing attacks. It's not super hard to defeat. I think the whole thing is like, hey, which always makes me question, like, why did all these 4 monks kind of suck so badly that they all died? But that's a whole other thing.
Have you looked at first edition monks? They're pretty bad.
Yeah, that's true.
they're not a very well designed class.
Well, this is like 2E, right? So this is like, you know, they're still not great. But whatever.
Yeah, they're still not. Yeah, in this version of the game, this is still basic expert, I think.
Yeah, and maybe they don't know whatever. It's not a very good. It would be very good if they were still alive. But anyway, they're dead, and suddenly you kill this thing, and suddenly you have all these memories that you go through.
Yes. So the 4 robed figures. So it's we're going to get back to what Kyle was talking about earlier about like people in wizard towers causing problems elsewhere.
Yes.
So the white robed figures are monks. So they're the adventurers that were sent out by a character named Shafley. Man, maybe we should have talked about
Shalfei.
Oh, Shafley. That's right. So I did the thing where I don't know how to read a word, so I just make up a way to do it. So just to kind of explain the plot of what's happening in this module, because this has gone over in the intro. The character Shalfei is a monk who is living in a tower that has the Book of Prophecies. And the way the Book of Prophecies works is that you can only turn 1 page at a time, but it tells you, like, it reads the future, essentially. And the problem of this module is all of a sudden that book is blank. And then at the very back of the book, it says, a star will fall from the sky, and it needs to be traded to, it calls out the Smurf Nebula, doesn't it?
I believe so.
On the last page of the last volume, there, in clear words, the coming of the shooting star was foretold, and the elder sage was instructed to plot its course, to find it, and take it to a certain group of smiths, who, in return, would provide a second set of Book of Prophecy. So, the Book of Prophecy suddenly goes blank, and it says, hey, there's going to be a falling, like a shooting star, that you need to take to some smiths that are under the earth, and then you'll get the next book of prophecies that will start working again. So this monk dispatches 4 monks to trade a book to a druid to find out where the star fell, and they got 8 by the memory web. And that's where we are in this adventure.
Yeah, so the whole point of this is like if you think about it, whoever was writing his prophecy had a problem in that in order for the future to go the way that they wanted it to go, they needed someone to intervene with the shooting star. And so in order to do that, because someone is really good at reading the future, and it's probably was, somebody who wrote all these books, right? So they said, okay, well, I need someone to interact and do something because this shooting star is going to be important, really important later, and is going to guarantee the right future, essentially. So he stopped writing the book and said, go find the shooting star, and then hand it to these smiths. And then at some point, however he did it, he hid the books with these smiths. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting sort of way to think about it.
And it tells you that the books are magic and they somehow prophesize the future, but it doesn't say like, this was written 12,000 years ago by, by the sage Alondo. Like, it doesn't tell you.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you that information. So there's some speculation. Like, the DM could kind of come up with like, hey, maybe the books don't really work super well. Or like another angle, because it talks about like the people in this tower are like known for prophecy and they make like money off of it. So this could be like a capitalistic venture where they need these books because they want to retain the lifestyle that they have. Like, you can kind of interpret it in different ways. It doesn't really tell you exactly what's going on.
Yeah, it's sort of like, I'm getting a little bit. I'm reading. I'm reading ahead and also giving my own opinion about this because it's like, well, that's the only way I can really think about it is that whoever was writing this future said like, okay, well, I need somebody to do something with this because obviously, if I don't let that happen, the future is going to be really bad, or something's going to happen that's not going to. I don't want to happen, so that's why I'm in the future making someone, change things. I'm not just telling people anymore what's going to happen. I'm actively involved in the future to change what's going to happen, and giving somebody a thing.
I do think the adventure is kind of improved by it not giving you the full picture.
Right.
Like I kind of like,
because you could fill those things in.
Yeah, you could fill those things in, like, or if your group just doesn't care about it, they're like, some groups are like, what's the quest? Oh, that's the quest. Let's go do the quest. Like, you don't have to. But like, this is an adventure about a thing happening in a wizard tower somewhere, and then it causing the adventure completely elsewhere, which is like pretty interesting. Like, the adventure doesn't start with like, hey, this old wizard tells you to go do this thing and you do it. Like, it kind of like starts remotely, like you're in a way.
Yeah, it's also gives you a little bit of the why. It's not just like the wizard saying, go do the thing. It's sort of like, well, not only does the wizard sort of not know exactly why he has to do this, he just knows that he has to do it. But you could come up with a reason why. But to me, the most logical thing seemed to be like, well, whoever was telling the future said, you got to go. I need something to happen here. Because that's the only way I could wrap my head around. And like, why would you not just keep giving them what to do, right? Like, it's almost like the whoever was writing these books who was prophesizing all this stuff needed agency in the future.
Right. Yeah. The insertion of the adventurers kind of maybe makes prophecy a little problematic, because we all know D&D adventurers are the most chaotic element ever.
And in the end, like, well, if the adventurers fail and they don't give them the books, it's like, well, you don't want to know what happens in the future then.
Yeah, right. The only thing it does tell you about the books, and I'm unclear, it could have said this and I don't remember, but when they are reading the prophecies, they can only go one page at a time, so they can't be like, what's happening 50 years from now? Flip, flip, flip. They can only go one page at a time. So this is like, also, if you think about it, this is like just the status quo being changed, and someone asking you to keep the status quo the same, which is what adventures normally are. But the fact that this starts from the memory web, basically like making a psionic shockwave of memories, is the thing that makes this really interesting. And at the very least, if you don't play this module or you don't insert it, you could just steal the memory web for your games. Like it's a very cool monster.
Yeah, and the idea is that, like, you don't know all of this stuff, and it's like there's all these little pieces of mysteries, and you could either, kind of bring your character, you could bring the whole party along the way and not tell them any of it, and, kind of lead them by the nose about, like, what's important here and what's not. But you can also, if you could just have them try to figure out, like, what's going on. Like, why is it like this? Why are things... Because of the way the memories show up, which is all on page 4...
They're very fragmented. It's not like...
So you have to sort of... You're giving all these clues to the characters, and obviously it tells you in the text, like, which ones are the real ones and important ones that you have to remember, or you have to, like, they want you to know. But you're going to give all of this to the players, and then they have to sort of figure out, like, what's important and what's not, which I also think is really kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, so there's a few things, too, because it says... The images in these memories become they're basically like part of you now. So it says like, read the following memories out loud. And if the players ever ask you to repeat them, then you repeat them. Because it's like it became their memory. So there's no like, hey, write this down and make sure you remember it. It's like, it's part of their memory. Like if I was running this, I would print this out and just hand it to them. I would read it while I handed it out, but this is a handout for sure. This needs to be a handout because they're going to be asking to repeat it all the time.
Right. And it makes more sense to just have access to it whenever they need to.
It says, and I love this wording, in addition, the players will gain absolutely accurate knowledge of the location of the Tower of the Heavens, and the DM should indicate this on the player's map if he has provided them with one. So the Tower of the Heavens is where this whole like debacle started with the Shellface.
Yeah, and the books.
So basically, the robed figures that died had a bestiary book that it was like an illustrated book because they came from essentially a giant library that they were going to take to a druid as information for payment about where the shooting star went. So that's kind of like where the adventure... So you get these memories and you figure out that was what these people were doing, and you gain memory, you gain like knowledge of where the Tower of Heavens are, where the Tower of the Heavens is. So there's 19 memories here. One thing that is different about the 5th edition version of this game is that instead of giving you 19 memories, what it does is it gives you like 3 scenes, like tiny scenes, instead of giving you like broken up things. So they changed the way the memories work in the 5th edition version. You still get the same information, but it's through like little vignettes instead of these memories. So the way the memories work is the memories are like dialogue. So it's like fragmented conversations between people. Does it tell you the DM should mention? There's something, the following images launch firmly. Some of them are vitals of the course. Okay, so the ones that are bold, so it has 19 memories, and then a few of them are bolded. So now that I'm looking at this, I bet you the ones that they included in the 5th edition adventure are the bolded ones, and they got rid of the like...
Yeah, that would make them... That way you're not getting confused as to which ones are important and which ones aren't.
Right, so I guess if you do print this out, it'll be bolded, so that's not going to help.
Well, I mean, you would have to print this out, or you'd have to sort of write all this stuff out and not use the bolded ones, which is... that's a little work on your part. That's why they don't say like, hey, print these out, because you bolded some of them. So you'd have to like type them all out and then unbold them. Or, well, in our world, we would cut and paste them into a document.
Control C, highlight, Control B.
But in 1984, we didn't have that option.
Right. This should have been a handout, though. This should have been a handout. This 100% should have been a handout in the back of the book. Like, they could have got maybe, like, flowery with the text and, like they could have did some cool, like, calligraphy to make it, like, seem like memories or something. But this should have been a handout, because this is a... I mean, like, there's no... I mean, I guess you're not on a time limit, so there's no issue being like, hey, everyone write these things down that I'm going to read. But they did, like... I'm sure there's a reason this isn't a handout. I'm sure the person that... I'm pretty sure Graeme Morris probably thought, hey, this should be a handout. There might be a reason that it's not. But anyways, so what we're going to do now is we're going to read the memories that are important. We're not going to read all 19 of them. We're going to read the bolden ones. And just keep in mind that these are these are memories that are like dialogue that the players get like inserted into their brain when they kill the memory web.
So number 1, this is actually the first one that you should read out. Hurry! Shelfira Master calls. He is afraid. We must find the shooting star or die.
Memory number 3. You will not mistake it. A black rock seared by great heat. Dull and seemingly worthless. Only the fallen star can help us. I implore you, do not return without it.
And then you basically read 9 more and then get to this one, which is number 10. Remember it well. Fair is the day, but fair are the jewels of evening.
And after 5 more memories, you're going to read number 16, which is, make haste to Derwin's home in a green wood at the southernmost tip of the mountains, a valley, but harm no living things.
And then there are 3 more, and then the final one, which is, go seek for Dorwith the Half-Elven, a Star Watcher. Give him this bestiary. Only he can tell you where the shooting star came to Earth. It must be found, and soon. You know, a lot of the memories are pretty, like, dull. Like, one's about, like, hey, I really like fish. So.
Yeah, I think, let's see, Scream in the Night. Yeah, some of these are just, like, straight up red herrings.
Right.
A Scream in the Night, father swinging his sword in tear-stained rage. My younger sister kidnapped by the Devilmen. So it's like someone's like trauma from their childhood. You also, I don't think that's a reference to anything in this.
Right, there isn't.
Okay, so what they probably did in the 5th edition one, and I'd have to cross-check with the memories because I don't remember the exact ones it gives you, but I think they just give you the important ones. But like, you could do, as a DM, like, you could really get into like what it would be like to absorb the memories of 4 people. Like that might be a kind of traumatic experience. Like that might open up for some really cool roleplay moments for sure.
It should be, right? Yeah.
Oh, also these are not in like a chronological order or anything. They're just like, it's supposed to be like your mind gets opened and it just all gets stuffed in there at once. Okay, so page 5 is a full page art. I think I'll see if I can include like an Imager link of what this art is because it's crazy. But it essentially, it is a full page art. It's full page art of like all of these memories at once. It's like a montage of like all of these memories.
Right. So in theory, you would sort of show this while you're reading all this stuff. You sort of like, oh, here's also sort of some visual cues of what's going on with everything that's going into your brain.
Yeah, so it's kind of a thing of once you read the whole module, you'll understand what most of these things are. But it's really cool. It's a really cool interpretation of just like fragmented memories of, you know, what is it, like 19 different fragmented memories. There's like a bunch of little scenes here of different things. So it's just, I don't know, this type of like really, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. I don't think avant-garde is the right word. It's just like really experimental art is really a cool thing about this era of D&D.
Yeah.
Also, the Darrow look crazy.
The Darrow look crazy. They do not look like something you want to deal with.
So the players kind of have, so the next page is page 6 where it has the random encounters table. So this is an interesting adventure because once you kill the memory web, the players, it's not really linear. The players do have a few choices. Like, they could take the book directly to the druid. They could go to the Tower of Heaven and see what's going on with that. Like, there's a few choices that the players have. Or they could try to find the star.
Yeah, it's sort of a little bit all over the place as to where... That's why when I was saying in the beginning, you know, there's 6 different sections, but you may go to different sections because your players may be going like, yeah, no, we're going to go to the tower, rather than going seeing the druid first. So
unless your players saw the falling star, they likely will need to go to the druid to find where the star fell, or to the Tower of Heaven. Either one will give you the information of where the star fell. So there's a day and a night random encounter table for you, like
trudging through the wilderness, basically.
Through the wilderness. I have a note that there's a ton of dead bodies in these encounters. So there's a lot of like, you come up to a dead body and then you find the thing that's eating it encounters. So I don't think we need to read these.
No, the only thing I want to talk about is that there's some new monsters or monsters I haven't heard of. So there's some vortices, and then there's also gambados, which sounds like something like Italian mobsters to me.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Okay.
Oops, I did make a note to look those up, but I didn't. Oh, well. There's also a caterwaul.
And doom bats.
Yeah, that just sounds like a punk band.
Yeah, the doom bats. But there's also a caterwaul when you...
And it tells you what book these are in, so I think FF. FF is Fiend Folio.
Fiend Folio.
So I'm surprised you don't know
Folio.
because you memorized that entire book. I'm surprised you don't know what these are.
No, I memorized some parts of that book. The Githyanki specifically.
Okay,
but yeah,
so you just
most of the stuff I don't remember. There's
you
so
looked at the
many.
cover.
Yeah, pretty much. There were some really interesting ones in there. Like some of the, it really came down to 10-year-old Kyle looking at pictures and going like, "Oh, that picture's really cool. Let me read what that is."
So I'm just gonna type Fiend Folio Gambado. All right, we're gonna do a memory test, Kyle. Are you ready?
Sure.
I'm gonna send you a photo of this, and you're gonna tell me if you remember it. Put you on the spot. This is what it looks like.
Oh, yep. Now I remember what that looks like. I remember that in the book.
Okay, so
That's a really cool picture.
So Gambado is not some sort of like mobster. It is a kind of, I'm just gonna say it, kind of lame looking ghost thing. It looks kind of silly.
I mean, yeah, but the art's really good.
Oh yeah, I mean at the time it has a classic. The art has a classic specialness to it, I guess. But if you showed me this now, and
It looks like it's some kind of like we're looking at the monster, like not necessarily in Fiend Folio, but here it sounds like it's just some skulls that like jump out and are sort of, I'm guessing, undead, but yeah. Because they're like, oh yeah, the party sees 2 to 5 skulls lying amid a scatter of loose rocks, and then they approach it and they're attacked by them. So like, okay.
all right, and as penance for forgetting to look this up when I was researching this, I will insert what a Gambado, a caterwaul, and a doombat is in the edit. I'm gonna regret telling myself to do this, but here we go.
Stop time.
The caterwaul is a bizarre bipedal cat that has blue fur, yellow eyes, and a really long tail, and it basically hunts on its own. The doombat is a giant bat with a wingspan of 25 feet, and it can pick up and carry about 300 pounds. And the Gambado is a bizarre-looking man-sized creature that's just a normal human torso that has arms with 2 really sharp claws at the end of it. And the bottom part of its body is like just one single foot that kind of wraps up like a spring and it leaps at you. It is not undead. It is just a very strange looking creature. And reading the Fiend Folio anytime I have to do it for this podcast is an absolute treat. Back to the show.
Time begins to move.
Oh, and I forgot vortices. Let's do that too.
Stop time.
This is referring to the vortex on page 94 of the Fiend Folio. It is exactly what you think. It's a man-sized tornado that basically picks a person up and spins them around until they die. However, the thing that's special about it is the vortex itself is not the actual creature. The creature is a small sphere the size of a grapefruit, which is in the center of the whirlwind, which is hard to hit because it's so small and it's in the center of the whirlwind. So it's basically a grapefruit-sized creature that has like a whirlwind around it.
Time begins to move.
Okay. So moving on, of note, one of the encounters I did want to talk about that I thought was kind of cool was the foothills at night. The adventurers hear the sound of a fierce argument. If they investigate, they find 2 trolls, and they're basically fighting about how to cook the carcass of a sheep, which is it's kind of funny. I don't know. I like encounters that aren't just a thing comes out of the shadows and attacks you. Like this makes it feel like it's a real world.
Yeah, it also is a Lord of the Rings reference.
Is it? Oh, two trolls eating a... Oh, okay.
Yeah, because like they catch the halflings and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with them and how they're going to cook them and all that stuff. And then the sun comes up and they all turn to stone.
Oh, okay. I'm not surprised because almost all of D&D is a Lord of the Rings reference, but that's great. Okay, so moving on to page 7. This chapter is called PR's Shadow. PR's? Is that how you say that character's name?
Pyars? I would say
Pyars? Probably Pyars. Yeah. Pyars is Shadow. So this is okay. So back in the Tower of Heaven, where all the drama is happening away from the away from the player characters, there's a little bit of an internal power struggle. Because what was his name? Shelfie.
Shelfie.
Shalfei. So Shalfei is the main the quest giver, so to say. And he is trying to find the
He's the head
prophecy.
priest.
He's the head priest.
Yeah, he's
like
the head diviner.
While this is happening, there is another priest wizard person named Pyars who is trying to usurp the power. So he sent an assassin named Scion after the monks. Because he's trying to disrupt whatever the plan is, basically.
And basically, every single one of the priests / diviners has a set of monks that protect them. And so this particular monk is assigned to Pyraz, but he's a little different, and he's kind of corrupted.
So he is a human / shade. He has a shadow raven, and he can do all this shadow stuff. So first of all, the sages probably should have been like, I'm just imagining in this wizard tower, there's like all these monks to protect the other monks are just like normal people, and then this other guy has this like evil shade character that wears mascara, and it's like, hey, you're evil, right? Because you're that guy's protecting you, or you're chaotic evil, right? Like, because this is in my notes I put, you are being chased by an edgelord. He sent out his Scion, his most trusted and terrible servant.
Yeah, he went undergo some strange ritual to turn him into like this weird shadow shade.
Yeah, so he can do shadow walk. He can do shadow images. He has a like shadow raven pet. He has like a shadow mastiff too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he has a shadow dog.
A shadow mastiff from the plane of shadow. Which is funny because in 5th edition, the shadow sorcerer, one of their things is they can make a shadow mastiff. So I wonder if that's like, obviously I don't think that's a reference to this, but maybe they're referencing the same thing.
Yes, they're definitely, yeah.
But basically, like, Scion is this incredibly dark edgelord, shadowy figure that was chasing the bugs, but now the bugs are dead, so he's going to go after the players.
But, you can also play him in a lot of ways. Like, he doesn't necessarily want to slaughter all the adventurers, like, because he doesn't know exactly what needs to be done in order for all this to work. So you sort of get to play him in a way that, like, well, is he going to kill the players? Does he sort of help the players to betray them? Like, you can sort of do a lot with him if you want.
One thing of note that's kind of funny is that it says so the funny thing about the text here is it says, so Scion has gone through the terrible rituals necessary to become a shade. No one has suspected this transformation, but all noticed that his devotion to PRs became even greater, and ironically, he acquired the nickname of PRs' Shadow. So he became a shade, and they called him Shadow because he's around this guy a lot, but they don't know that he's a shade.
Right. Very cute.
So no one was like, "Hey, why does your follower? Why is he a shade? Why is he listening to The Cure all the time and wearing mascara? What's going on? Are you evil?" That is not happening.
Right. It's no one asks.
But like the art does show this like really like creepy looking guy with dark robes
and a raven.
So he was sent to go after the monks that were eventually killed by the memory web. So he's going to start chasing the players. So it gives you kind of direction on what that looks like, because it basically says unless the players have like the ability to fly or some sort of special way to travel, he will catch up to them. And because you have to either go clockwise or counterclockwise or across the mountains, it basically says if they go counterclockwise, he will catch up to them after visiting the druid. If they go clockwise, he will catch up to them after they have left the Tower of Heaven. So it kind of gives you like, you will encounter this person, and it gives you it basically, like, this type of thing you see in D&D all the time. It's kind of like how do I say this? It's not like the players are going to know this. This is like the design of this is to give the DM the feeling that this is a living world, right? Because they're like, hey, this person is real and they are chasing the players. Here's what happens either way. Because the way it's broken down in this, you have to go one way or the other, right?
Right.
Okay, because they could design this and be like, insert this combat anywhere. Do we like, I guess the thing I'm asking is like, do we like the facsimile of this being a real simulated thing where this person is chasing them? Or should it just be they fight this guy? Because obviously this part is in here for the DM, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think the piece I like about this is that there is this whole thing of like, there's a mystery as to why Shalfei sent the monks out in the first place, right? Like, so you could decide whether or not, Scion is interested in, like, is he just interested in just killing the players and coming back to his master? Or is he also interested in, like, why did they send the monks out there in the first place? Because, like he did interrogate the monk, and to find out, like, what's going on. But he doesn't know the whole thing. So the question is, like, you could have them just go ahead and just attack the players and they have this big fight. But it might be that Scion is like, well, wait, why is this happening? Like, why did he send them out there? I mean, he knows, like, Scion knows that he sent them out there and where they're at, but doesn't know why, the priest did it in the first place. Right. So you can decide whether or not, he waits until after, they go to the next section, or, like, if they just go right back to the tower, maybe he just attacks them. But if they're going to the druid, it's like, well, why are they going to, he may be asking, like, maybe I should find out why they're going to the druid. So he may even go up there and be like, okay, well, I'm going to try to befriend these adventurers and then betray them later or whatever. So that's what I was saying. Like, you sort of have this nice, I like that, it's not just a straightforward fight. You could decide how intelligent you want him to be and to find out what's going on.
Yeah, this thing, the way this is written is like, what I wanted to come back to is like, this is, I guess it's like the magic of this edition of like this era of D&D writing is these little, like, yeah, this is only in here, the only DM's going to know in their head, but like the DM is a player at the end of the day. Like, we don't call them a player character, but they are a player of D&D. And it's fun. It's just fun to read stuff like this. And like the players are going through and you're thinking, like, at least in my head, I'm like, I'm a very like visual thinker sometimes. So when I'm running the game, I'm thinking about this, like, shadowy figure, like drawing his cloak over his mouth as he like walks through this valley, like sneaks through this valley, tracking the pieces. Right. Like, I think of this and I am a player in the game still. So obviously this is in here for the DM, but like this type of thing is like what makes D&D magic, I guess, instead of, it's like the magical, the D&D-ness of what makes, like, reading these modules. Because these modules could just be written like very linear, like a board game. Like, here's the setup, you do this, go in this next room, you do this. But it's not. It's written with Scion.
If they go to see the druid, he goes and attacks them. It's like, yeah.
So I think even though this is in here for the DM, it kind of, I don't know, this type of thing is like what makes D&D so like alluring to me, like why I love reading these things.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it so that you have this element that you can use whenever you want to add drama and tension, and it could be that they're just like, we know there's someone stalking you, but we don't know who it is or why or any of that kind of stuff. It's a great little piece here that you could use to make your D&D game like sort of sing, really.
And what is different that I noticed about this design as opposed to the other stuff that we've read, a lot of the other stuff we've read around this era, where if something is coming after you or is a thing that you could run into, it's in the random encounter table. And it would be like, hey, you can randomly encounter Scion. This is like, no, he is a timer and he will show up eventually. It just depends how the players travel. So this is like, specifically written in a different way. And I don't know if it's like they obviously had editors, but they're, from what I'm reading about TSR, the way that they did things, it's not like, I don't think their editors were like, okay, let's all talk to each other Monday morning and sync up and make sure we're writing all our modules in the same way. Like, that was not happening, I guarantee. So this also is like maybe a little bit of that UK flavor. Like, when you read their adventures, they're slightly different than the other adventures. But anyway, Scion, this just stuck out to me as I don't know, something really cool about this module, even though, like, I will say maybe this character was really cool in 1984, but he's kind of an edgelord. He's like, I think he might be a little over the top for 2026. We've seen this cool assassin, dark assassin, shadow assassin archetype a lot.
That's true. I have built an entire campaign, or basically like thing for a game where it was just all edgelords. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, this is around the time like Venom came out in Marvel, right? Like, no,
Marvel was after. In 1984, Venom wasn't around 1984.
First appearance of Venom in Marvel, 1988. So this is 4 years. I don't know. I'm just thinking of Venom as like a archetype of like a shadow guy who is very like edgy and dark. So there's a little 80s-ness to this character,
for sure.
But that's why we read so many modules from the 80s. All right, so page 8. This is where the druid lives. It is spelled CWM and then Cernant, but it tells you in the text that CWN is pronounced Coom. So it's Coom Cernant.
Right.
And I laughed my ass off when I got to that, because Coom is an internet brain rot slang word.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay, yeah, so Coom obviously means come.
Oh.
And the word Coomer is like someone that is obsessed with pornography. So
I see.
When I read that it's pronounced Coom and it's spelled COOM, I had a little giggle, because it was very funny to me that CWM
your internet brain rot.
Coom.
Yeah, your internet brain rot is getting into our podcast. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's great.
So Coom Cernant is the, I guess, valley where the druid sage Derwinth lives. So there was a hint in the memories that to not harm any living creatures when you arrive here. When you arrive, you are met by two giant eagles that
they talk to him telepathically.
Yeah, that's right. So the idea is that Derwinth is like, he's a druid, so all of the little woodland creatures here are his allies, and he talks to them, so he will know if you showed up and started murdering everything. So you kind of have an option here of like, when the two giant eagles show up, they will either they'll take you to him, right? They'll take you to
Yeah, basically this whole thing is like, okay, well, you have the opportunity to either be a murder hobo or not a murder hobo, or a minor murder hobo that turns into a murder hobo, right? Because, like, he's a druid. He doesn't want his animals messed with. So you get the opportunity when the eagles come down and say, hey, welcome, Groundwalkers. This is the home of Derwith. If you come in peace, follow us. If not, leave now. So you sort of have to me, it's like a black and white thing. You can either follow the eagles and not kill a bunch of stuff, or I guess there's a third option of following the eagles and killing some stuff and it going very bad for you. Or you're just like, I'm just going to kill everything. But it's pretty obvious that you want to.
Yeah, you did get a memory that says, do not harm any living creature there. So if the players are paying attention to the memory, which the front of the book, like, straight up says, like, if they ask you about one of the memories, read this again. Like, do not withhold this information. It's part of their memory. So I would be very surprised if they started killing stuff. That's, I mean, of course, this is going to plan for that, because a lot of these early modules, like, assume that you're just gonna use sword on everything. Also, like, our two intelligent giant eagles, is that a Lord of the Rings reference? Because I feel like it could have been any other creature and it was an eagle. It could have been a bear, it could have been a deer, but it was two eagles.
Oh, probably, yeah. Yeah.
So they will lead you back to Derwent's homestead. And Derwent has cast a tree spell on himself. So he's in his homestead as a tree, and he will be spying on you. And the way this thing works is you have like a few turns of, I guess, stumbling through his homestead and seeing a bunch of strange stuff. And then if you act accordingly, then he will untransform from a tree and help you. He wants to make sure you have good intentions. And he will observe you for 5 rounds, which I believe is 50 minutes, right?
Think so?
No, that's turns. He will observe you for a while. We keep jumping around.
Yeah, I always forget.
D&D, so I keep getting confused. But he will watch you as a tree for a while as you stumble through his homestead, and if you do anything, he will punish you and basically not help you. But in his homestead, there's like giant goats. There's a gorilla. There's a saber-toothed tiger. So there's like a bunch of weird stuff in his homestead.
Stuff that normal like murder hobos are going to go murder hobo. Because you're also going to remember in this version of the game, like if you want experience, you got to go kill stuff.
Yeah. So also, this part of the adventure in 5th edition is slightly different. Not that it super changes anything, but Derwent is a woman in the 5th edition version, and it straight up says like if you start attacking stuff, she will refuse to help you, and then you could make I think it was a DC 15 diplomacy check or whatever to get them to help you. So that's like a slight different thing, but it's mostly the same. Except it actually like maps out. Oh no, it does that later here too. Never mind. So if you give him the book, he will assist you by telling you that the shooting star has come to Earth somewhere in Thurno Pass, and he will tell you where the pass is. And he will warn you that there is a strange race of humanoids that live underground, shun the light of day, and are feared for their savage attacks on man and beast alike. I don't think we need to talk about his homestead, do we?
Well, I think the only thing we should say is that there's a whole. I mean, there's 2 pages of his homestead. So, like, if you go and start murder hobing things, and they've got you covered in this module of like if you do bad things and you just want to kill Derwent and take all of his stuff and kill all the woodland creatures, then yeah, there's stuff for all that, and you'll get a lot more experience by doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you won't. It's sort of you're probably not going to progress the module much. I'm not sure how you're going to find out what to do next, other than to go, I guess, at the tower, and he's going to go like, "You did what?"
Yeah, and he does have some things that you could lose. So like in the hall is a harp made out of mithril wire, which is worth 1,500 gold pieces. He has a unlocked chest that has 250 gold, a healing potion, and then a block of boxwood worth 800 gold. He has a library that has like 80 to 200. It says 84 books and 200 non-magical parchment scrolls, mostly about fields of study, flora, fauna, the physical universe. Flora and fauna in the physical universe, which is like, that's kind of a funny word, right? Because
yeah,
to see, like, when you say physical universe, I think of physics, but I'm sure that,
right.
Like,
but it's
I mean, I guess he has an
so,
interest
okay.
in astronomy, right? Because he knows how to calculate where the shooting star went, so maybe he's good at math,
right?
But yeah, and then also, so like there is some like juicy loot for you to steal if you wanted to. If you didn't like go around murdering everything, you could be like, oh, here's this house with like a bunch of free stuff, and then he'll probably turn into the druid and be like, hey, what, you're evil, why are you stealing my stuff? And then of course, if you are just like, let's kill the druid, it has little section here that's like, here's all the woodland creatures that are going to come out of the forest and repeatedly attack you.
And you might survive, but I mean, there's some tough stuff in here. There's 3 giant stags. Each one of them has 30 hit points. You know, they're going to do damage. There's 15 female giant stags. There's 9 giant wasps. 2
I like how it's
giant otters, and 5 huge spiders.
So giant wasp, once again, giant insects in D&D. I know this has been like a repeated thing for us because we've read like mostly low level stuff.
Right.
But I just love the phrase 15 non-combatant female giant stags. It's like
the other piece that's sort of funny to me is they say 3 giant stags, and I'm like, you could just replace this with elk. So I don't know if you've ever looked at an adult elk, but they're huge. Like when someone says a giant stag, I think of like an elk, because elks are massive. They sort of, so Google an elk sometime, adult male elk, and you'll go like, oh yeah, no, that's really big.
Yeah, so you're just gonna get attacked by all of this stuff. But if you behave yourself, then he will tell you to go to the. He will tell you to go to Thermo Pass, and then warn you that there are creatures named the Duro, but he doesn't really know anything about them other than they live underground and they're evil. He does, so I guess they're not part of the natural universe he knows about.
Right.
Also, they're normally like in the Underdark, underground, whatever. So them being around is kind of strange. I did want to make a note about the formatting on the top of page 10. And I just have a note here that says like the art and text at the top of this equals just do whatever you want. And the reason I have that is because like nothing else that we've read is formatted like this. It has 2 pictures related to what's going on, and then it has like the memory, like the quote from the memory: "Make haste to Durwood's home in the green wood at the southernmost tip of the mountains, a valley, but harm no living thing." But like, there's no. A thing I've noticed about these adventures is there's no like. If you look at current D&D and the way that they format their stuff, and let's just say like, yeah, there's a lot of problems with Wizards of the Coast or whatever, but like how they like put things on the page in their books, I don't think is it. There's none of that in these early modules. It is all formatted, like the box text is different, like it's all just like whatever. So it's funny just like seeing the way they format this. Like it's cool. I like that they included the little image at the top in the quote, but it like every time I read one of these modules, I'm kind of like relearning how to read it because it's always formatted differently. And these are things that were released within like years of each other. So I don't know if that's just like a TSR quirk. From what I can tell, they didn't have time to do anything. So the idea of like, hey, let's sit down and figure out a way to format all of our adventures like in a universal manner is probably not one of their concerns.
Yeah, and part of it too is that they don't have computers to make it easy. So,
true, they can't just send each other their template.
No, they're all doing it by, a lot of this is done by hand, and with a typewriter, and then they format it all, and then they send it out to somebody, and there's a lot of stuff going on.
I guess I would think that they would do like, here's our book with lorem ipsum text in it, and everyone gets a copy of it, and this is how we do it. But I don't know.
No,
I'm
no
being pedantic here, but it is like a thing I'm noticing that they format every single one of these adventures way differently. All right, Kyle. So moving on to page 11, we're in the Darrow Lair. So the adventurers make their way to Therno Pass, based off of the directions we just got from the druid. He tells you where the falling star landed. And the first paragraph here I really like is, the adventurers should have little difficulty finding the point of impact of the shooting star once they locate Therno Pass, since the effects of the blast could be seen up to a mile away.
Nuclear explosion. Yeah,
you get to Therno Pass, and it's like, where do we need to go? It's like, oh, there's a massive crater, and the trees are flattened. That's where you need to go. There's a massive hole in the earth where it struck. So I just really like that image of like, the image of like a adventurers approaching a crater in the ground is really cool to me.
Yeah, and it's also like it's almost like X marks the spot too. It's like, okay, here's where we're going. Here X marks the spot of the giant crater.
So it goes on to talk about recent events, which are kind of important. So what's going on here in this part of the adventure? So this is the Darrow layer, even though it's Thurno Pass, because the Darrow are these terrible foul creatures that were under the earth, and they had a shrine down here, and the falling star just happened to collapse in on it. So we're kind of dealing in a situation where like the Darrow were just going about their thing, and their life was interrupted by by the caves that they were in being collapsed, basically. So part of this dungeon is collapsed, but the Darrow were in there. So we're gonna get into this as we go through the rooms, but there's some pretty like graphic descriptions of these people being crushed.
Yeah, a big explosion. Lots of Darrow are killed, but not all of them.
And we're going to get into, so getting to this part of the adventure, this is the biggest change from 5th edition. In this version of the adventure, the Darrow all have slaves, humanoid slaves that they are using to dig holes. And it's very dark and graphic, because not only it talks about like the Darrow driving them as slaves, like for labor, but it also talks about like eating their slaves.
Oh yeah.
So it's like this is super dark. So in the 5th edition version of this, the Darrow, instead of having slaves, they have zombies that they do all the work with, which is like much less dark than having humanoid, like sentient humanoids that you eat occasionally,
right?
As slaves. So
we're okay with you eating zombies. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't remember if it talks about them eating the zombies, but it for sure it's like using them for labor is like a little more, because they're not really sentient in the same way that, like, obviously we don't have to talk, like we're I don't know, 20 podcasts in or whatever on this, like we don't need to talk about the pitfalls and the complexities of like adding this type of thing, having this type of thing in your game without discussing it with your players first. And I think they changed the zombies to make it more appealing to more people. It make it easier, because that's a discussion you don't have to have if you're at like a convention or something. So yeah, I mean we've talked multiple times on this podcast about like we've talked multiple times on this podcast about having slavery in your game without discussing with your players first. Like, you know, we've all heard of the like lines and veils or like the X card and stuff like that. So I think they switched it in 5th edition to have the zombies be slaves instead, to make it much less of a conversation and just make it easier to integrate into more people's games, because they are selling a product and they want people to buy it.
Right. And it's just easier in general to not have that discussion, nor have that just in your game, and just move forward without having to think about it too much. But if you want to include it, do it. The zombies, they're not zombies, they're people. The zombies are people. And now,
and you could change it either. If you prefer the other way, you can change it however way you want. If you're playing the 5th edition and you prefer the old version, whatever, that's not a hard change to make. But that was the most noticeable change that I noticed when I was reading the 5th edition version of this. Other than that, it seems to be mostly the same adventure. Okay. So we talk about damage to the layer. So if you're looking at the map, it just talks about the rubble, and it gives you like the rubble may be cleared safely at a rate of 40 cubic feet per hour per character. So I guess if you want to do some fun word problems to figure out how far your characters can dig, you can do that.
Yeah. If I remember right, I don't think you have to even necessarily deal with clearing the rubble. But yeah.
It does tell you if you want to go from D5 to D9, it takes a single person 15 hours.
Yeah.
So it does give you some specific numbers. But I mean, I guess as much as I'm somewhat making fun of including that as a word problem, it is kind of nice to have that information to figure it out, because you never know when you when you add players, the most chaotic element of the game to something, you never know how they're going to try to solve a problem.
Right. So at least now you have some guidelines as to, if your players are like, we're going to clear everything out and make this our layer, then you have guidelines for that.
Another change from 5th edition that it does in this version, it talks about the Darrow idol. So there was a statue that was in this is just referred to as the Darrow idol. So it is some sort of like significant, probably religious or historical statue that they have in here. In the 5th edition version, it specifically mentions that the Darrow idol is a carved statue of Darinka, who is the patron god of the Darrow.
Okay.
So if you are a person who kind of wants, more of a, like, I do have some trouble when I read these old adventures. They don't really call out deities and stuff like that. I like to have it be defined. If you're a type of person that likes that you could pull that from the 5th edition version of it. And it looks like, just looking through like where Darinka comes from, it looks like she is from mostly there's a couple Planescape, 2nd edition Planescape things that she was mentioned in. It looks like she's also mentioned in some 3.5 stuff in Mordecai's Tome of Foes. So it looks like starting in 2nd edition is when they kind of gave this character a name. Which
makes sense, because that's when the Darrow are in the Monster Manual 2, and that is sort of about the time that we had 2nd edition come out. I mean, I think Monster Manual 2 came out first, but then pretty shortly after, I think 2nd edition came out. I might be wrong about that. I probably should look it up.
I'm actually checking really quick if it's in the Fiend Folio.
No, they're in Monster Manual 2. It says here in the Monster Manual 2.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Yeah, in the module it says Monster Manual 2. But I think AD&D Monster Manual 2 is still a first edition thing, but 2nd edition came pretty soon after that.
Yeah, the additions of this game can be sometimes confusing. It also doesn't help that I started with 2nd edition revised. So to me, 2nd edition revised is 2nd edition. So, and that was 1990. So whenever someone is like, "Oh, 2nd edition," I'm like, "Wait, that was 1990."
Yeah, 2nd edition first came out in 1989. So Advanced D&D came out in 89, and Monster Manual 2 came out in 1983. So that's a 6-year difference. So I was incorrect.
Makes sense. I mean, it's hard to track these editions of the game. So
yeah. I mean, I remember having Monster Manual 2 as a kid, and being very excited to have it. But I don't remember that I was that young when I got it. I probably got it in like 1985 or something like that.
Oh, right, because like a lot of these, like, of course, there was people that were reading Dragon magazine and they were counting down the days of every single release. But at this time, you just went to the game store and you were like, "Oh, they have a new book." At least that's my experience, anyways.
That is exactly my experience. And so you're like, "Oh, look, this new Dungeons and Dragons book came out, and I need it." So yeah, it was 1983, and then 2nd edition came out in 1989. So that's 6 years difference.
Yeah. Whereas now it's like, I know this is coming out on this specific date, and I'm getting it on that date. Actually, now it's like, I know this thing is coming out, so I'm going to wait online to stand in a queue online for 3 hours to get it.
Right, because I know the exact time, not only the exact date, but the exact time and where to go to get it.
Which is not how it works for tabletop RPGs, but how it works for a Magic card, for premium Magic cards, and for sneakers.
And also premium, like Supreme's like that. Like, Supreme drop will be on Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific time, because it's 11 a.m. Eastern time. But then Japan and the UK have different drop times as well. So just to confuse everybody.
Oh, and also concert tickets.
Right. Concert tickets for sure. Burning Man tickets.
So yeah, the entrance to this is the crater. And then once you go into that, you're going to go into the underground chambers. And it describes the crater as, so it's 100 feet across and half is deep. So it's 100 feet across and 50 feet deep. And I just wonder, because this is the type of thing where like people should be able to figure out how big the crater would be from the description. It describes later that the falling star itself is the size of a grapefruit. So I'm actually curious if that's if that is just a thing the author made up, or if they tried to figure that out scientifically what it should be.
Yeah, like how big should the actual crater be if the thing is the size of a grapefruit traveling at close to terminal velocity or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah. Look, I'm not like a science, I don't have like a science degree or something, but I'm sure people could figure it out or compare it to like craters that we have currently on Earth. And it just talks about like there's evidence here in the crater that the Darrow were driving their slaves to try to dig as fast as possible to find the falling star. And you will actually find like people here who have died of exhaustion, being forced to try to dig and find the falling star, which is like I was saying earlier, this is like this section is very dark.
Yeah. I mean, it's also set up to like, it's the setup to, you don't necessarily know, like, oh, they've heard that these people are terrible, and then you suddenly arrive and you're just like, oh, they're awful.
So in the next room is in the underground chambers is the guard room that is D2, and in this room it says like the occupants were killed by fallen masonry. So they were in the guard room, and then this falling star hit and collapsed their tunnels, and like there's just a bunch of dead Darrow in here.
Right, and it's like looking at the map. That's the only entrance that you see that's not this new entrance that they had to create, or the natural instance, which I think there's sort of a natural area where there's a river that sort of flows through it. And so like you would look around and see this entrance and go in and go like, oh, that's unfortunate. They all died. And then if you go around, you would see the new entrance, quote unquote.
Yeah, it describes 5 short, paled-skinned humanoids were crushed by rocks in this room.
And basically, looking at the map, the rest of this is the actual, quote-unquote, dungeon or lair of the Darrow. This first room is like, if you just happen to find where the first entrance was, this is where the first entrance was, and they're all dead. And you could do, based on the game rules, from this, you could start clearing out rubble to get to the rooms that are like 10 and 9. So there is an interesting thing of like, you could get to kind of the end of the dungeon if you started to clear out rubble and then, tunneled your way. But you'd have to know, obviously, and I don't, it could be spells, could be something, and you could actually get to the very end of the dungeon before going through all the rest of this. But obviously we're going to read it through.
It does feel like you could. So I think the characters like wanting to do some digging to see if they find anything is like pretty normal. Like, yeah. Like, hey, let's dig for like an hour or two to see if we find like the falling star or some cool magic items or something like that the Darrow were carrying. Also, I don't know. This is a fairly low level adventure, and I don't know if you're going to have retainers that would do the digging for you and henchmen, but that is a possibility because this version of the game, you do have to think about like in some instances it's expected that the players have a person holding the torch for them and some retainers and stuff. So maybe digging is like something that we would see more commonly in this version of the game than we would see in current versions of the game. Although current versions of the game, you'd probably be like, I have a spell that will just blast through all this. Let's go. So moving on to page 12, D3, the outer cave. This room it's like a natural cavern that's used as a guard room.
Yeah.
And the Darrow in here are not dead because there were 6 Darrow warriors and 1 Darrow leader. So the note that I have about this room is there's 6 Darrow warriors, 1 Darrow leader. They're each armed with repeating crossbows, which fire 2 shots per round and hold 6 bolts. And each bolt only does a D3 HP of damage, but each one does 2d6 damage of poison.
Right. So you gotta make a saving throw.
Yeah, that you do get to save against, so you can pass that. But still, like, it is another situation where I'm looking at this room, I'm like, there's 7 characters, they can fire their crossbow twice per round, and they're shooting something that could potentially do 2d6, 2d6 and a half worth of damage.
Yeah, this could be a really tough fight.
This outer cave, if you don't do it right, this is a TPK. It feels like this is a TPK waiting to happen.
Well, I can't remember what the level. You're up to 5th level in this, aren't you? You have some 5th level stuff.
I thought it was 3 to 6. Let me look.
3 to 5. So if you have somebody at 5th level, if a wizard with and can throw a fireball, this would be the ideal room to do that in. But if you don't have that, it's going to be a really tough fight.
Right. And this version of the game does not want you to walk in and just start swinging your sword. Like a lot of the modules are written to punish you for doing that. And I'm still unsure at this point if I think it's written to punish you for doing that on purpose. You know, because sometimes I'm reading this, I'm like, oh, this is a new version of like. I mean, they were writing modules for some time at this point, but I don't know if the author of this sat down and was like thinking about the stuff we think about now, like action economy and stuff.
Right.
But like each of them being able to shoot the repeating crossbow twice as a missile. And now that I think about it, you do missiles last. Yeah, in initiative, don't you do melee and then magic and then missiles. So I guess you could close in on them if they're using missiles and attack first.
Right.
But still is a very dangerous room. This is, I think, the most danger we've been in this module thus far.
Yeah, and the Darrow leader has 30 hit points, which is not small. And then also each one of the Darrow warriors has 19 or 18 hit points. Sorry. And they also say that I thought this was an interesting little thing, is that because like the survivors had to survive this giant blast, they all have a 16 dexterity at least, so they all get a bonus to their dexterity because they basically were the ones that were able to dodge the giant meteor falling on their heads,
which is a hilarious like
evolutionary
example of natural selection, I guess. Hey, if any teachers are reading this and you're going to teach D&D in your class and you're going to teach natural selection, just give every single person in your class a bunch of characters, and one of them has really low dex and some of them have really high dex, and just say you're fireballing everyone and make them roll saves, and then at the end of the exercise look and be like, oh look, all the ones with high dexterity survived.
Yeah. So if they go on to procreate,
they're going to make high dexterity children.
They're going to be high dexterity children.
That would actually be that lesson would have stuck with me in high school if
Absolutely.
that occurred. Anyway, so yeah, now that you say that out loud, it makes me think that like, yeah, that's a really funny like example of natural selection.
Yeah.
Only those who could dodge a fireball survive.
Right. Because if you look at the little stat line for each one of them, they add a little dexterity piece where they say SD dexterity.
Yeah.
So
yeah, all the surviving Darrow have high dexterity, giving them a reaction attacking adjustment of +1, blah blah blah. So it does say
that's very funny.
So yeah, I didn't even notice that. That's funny. So this selected for the most dexterous Darrow.
Yeah.
It kind of gets into. There's a couple of paragraphs here in various groups which get into like the size of the characters and like getting through passages while wearing armor and stuff. So in certain instances here, like being a short character like a gnome or a halfling or something could be super helpful.
Yeah, because Darrow are short, so they're sort of like little gnomes or something. So you being a full-sized human, you're going to have a hard time negotiating some of these tunnels or inside the layer.
Okay, so speaking of darkness, speaking of dark and grim things, in the next room, D4, it talks about the inner cave, and this is like you're emerging from a flooded tunnel into a pool, and it says in the DM notes, the adventurers will hear the sounds of digging from the temple, which is D5, accompanied by the harsh orders of the Darrow and the cries of the human slaves.
Yay!
So that type of thing is omitted from the 5th version, because that's really dark.
It is.
And then the other thing that's like I think is a little bit of a missed opportunity in this room is it goes soon after the party arrives here, one of the slaves will appear in the mouth of the tunnel, and it just says he is insane and of no help to the party. He does not return within 2 rounds. If he does not return to Darrow's investigate. So like there could have been a really interesting conversation between the characters here that would have like given you some clues or some hints into what's going on, or like the players might feel heroic by rescuing this character, but it just says he is insane and no help to the party.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Does insane mean he can't be rescued? Like, what is that like?
Well, it almost feels like it's sort of that D&D version where it's like, well, we don't want to get too complicated with these things. Also, like if you look at his stat line, he's got 4 hit points and they still give him an XP value, which is kind of like, oh, you get 6 XP for killing him. So you get rewarded for killing him, which is kind of like, what? Should you get rewarded for rescuing him? But okay, I mean, sure.
Yeah, I mean, you should still get the... It's kind of funny too. It's like you should still get the reward for rescuing him, but it's like it's 6 XP, man. Like,
yeah, I need 6 XP, man. Like, it's not really that much, but it isn't very much in this version of the game, but still, It's sort of like one of those things in a, if we were in a video game and you're just like, oh, this defenseless guy's going to give me 6 hit points, so I can save my game, reopen it, kill the guy, get 6 hit points, reopen the game, just keep on saving it over and over and over again, and trying to get 6 XP every single time or something. I don't know. It's pretty funny.
Well, it's funny also that I say, oh, 6 XP doesn't matter, but I cannot tell you how many times, as someone who had, like, when I have used XP, where we would end a game, I would give XP, and the player's like, oh, I'm actually only 10 away from leveling.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, if we do it next session, then you're going to, like, not level till the end, so here you could just have 10 XP or whatever. I usually just said they could borrow from themselves in the future and just subtract 10 from the next session. But I rarely use XP. There's some games where I will, but I rarely use it anymore.
Yeah, I don't think most people don't use it anymore. But it'd be amusing to play a game where we do use it and see how it works now that we're so used to not using it.
Well, yeah, so in 5th edition, it's easier to not use. But in this version of the game, there are characters that are balanced. I'm using quotes here because I don't know how balanced it actually is, that are balanced based on, like, the thief. Yeah. It is a feature of the class that the thief levels up very easily and the wizard doesn't.
Right.
So you actually, like, if you just level people up like you would in 5th edition D&D, you lose a little something in this version of the game.
Right.
I think.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure there's like a million different ways people do XP because it's always been a kind of a clunky system. I know Dungeon Crawl Classics has changed it to where you only get, like, instead of dealing with thousands, you just deal with like 1 or 2 XP.
Yeah.
In the Dungeon Crawl Classics book, it actually says do whatever you can to make XP not fiddly.
Look, I only have 11,998. Can't I have 2 XP so I can go up another level? Like, oh, I'm gonna die.
The last time I used XP in 5th edition, I had a spreadsheet of like what every character had because it was all different because people didn't show up to games. And then it's like, well, eventually do you give people XP that don't show up to game? Like, it just is a mess. So I get not using it anymore. I think that's all I had to say about the slave that's insane.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's a missed opportunity. And there would have been some like even if you don't want to role play it out, you could have that person give them some useful information. All right, so now we go to the temple, which is D5 on page 13. I love the opening in the paragraph of this. It says, the walls of this room are offensive to your eyes, being painted with broad, jagged black and white lines. And if you look on the art on the previous page, it has that depicted in the art.
Yeah.
And my description of it is just like, it's a very Warhammer 40K. It looks like a thing orcs would do.
Right.
Like it's pretty bad looking.
Bit slapdash, as we'd say in Britain. They would say in Britain, it's a little slapdash. It's a bit slapdash.
And it doesn't really give a reason. It just is like how it's painted. So I guess that's just what their temple looks like. So in this room, there's 6 Darrow warriors and 1 Darrow leader. Is this the one?
It's basically a repeat of the guards room, except they don't have crossbows.
Yeah, and then we once again get into there's 4 human slaves, two men and 2 women. They're shackled and their clothes are ragged and dirty. They have been driven to insanity by the cruel treatment they have received, and they will not help the party. So it's just another, like, they're just there, and they don't help you, and they're insane. And I get that, like, this cruelty, it is basically they have been tortured for so long that they won't help you. But I just feel like there's them giving you information would be great, but also this is like the players, like, freeing them would feel like very heroic.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a missed opportunity again.
Yeah, I mean, they should have the opportunity to do something good if they want to. Like, if they want to, like, oh, we want to be heroic and we want to free these slaves from their enslavement, you should feel like, yeah, that should be rewarded. Or not. I mean, if you're like, hey, I just want my characters to be evil and just kill everybody, and then they want to get the XP for XP 6 each, well, okay.
Which, right, that this game, it feels like this version of the game wants you to have the freedom to, like, play that way.
Right.
And maybe, like, maybe the 6 XP is, like, supposed to be a punishment. It's like, oh, you killed the 1 HP slave that can't fight back, you only get 6 XP. I hope you feel great about yourself.
Right. Whereas when you kill the Darrow leader, you got 500.
So like even if it is open and they want you to be able to play evil, it kind of is like driving you to play the other way anyways. I kind of am just like at this point I'm understanding why we replaced this with the zombies, because it's just so much it's just so much cleaner.
Right.
But at the western end of the room, there's fragments of the shattered statue, which was originally the idol of the Darrow, which it toppled over and smashed when the shooting star landed. And unfortunately, nothing really cool about the statue. It's just art that has been shattered and is now worthless.
Yep.
So I don't know, maybe you could change that to be like, I don't know, give you like a magic +1 to your rolls once, consumable that you use once or something. I don't know. It just feels like you can insert a magic item there easily.
Right.
We'll get to it later, but the way you get magic items in this module is very different. Your rewards are very different in this.
Basically, like the next room that I talk about is really this sort of crossroads room. There's basically there's 3 different ways out of the temple. One is a corridor, which is what this next one's going to talk about. And then there's another one that is blocked off. And then another one that we will talk about, which is really the important one. But yeah, so...
I do want to talk about D6 on page 13. Because this is where it's saying like there was digging here, and the room is called abandoned digging. This is like the corridor here is completely blocked off, and it's partially, it looks like they were digging and then they stopped. But one thing here that's really dark is it says there's 8 corpses in all. 4 of them are completely buried by the rock. The exposed bodies are very badly mutilated since the Darrow have been using them as food since their other supplies were cut off.
Yeah, pretty grim.
So they're like eating the corpses that are that are sticking out, which is like real dark.
Right, and then attached to this room, there's a door that's attached to this room that is in the next, which we'll talk about, which is the slave pens. So like, think about it this way: there's like a temple. It's the first door. There's 2 doors and a corridor. The first door from the temple is this abandoned one where they're eating people, and then if you just go a little bit along that corridor into the next room is the slave pens. So like, yeah, this is a really grim piece of the whole layer.
Yeah, it's really dark. And I don't know if like they were trying to do some dark comedy with this. Like you see like the mutilated corpses sticking out, and you see like a half-eaten hand sticking out of the rock, which is like it's like one of those things that's so grim that it's almost like, if I saw that, it seems like something that would happen in like a Sam Raimi movie or something.
Right.
It's just like so over the top. But yeah, this is once again, replacing it with zombies it just makes it much less complex and less dark, and just like flow a little better, I think.
Yeah, and what's also interesting, I think, is that if you take this corridor, you see these mutilated bodies, and then you go into the slave pens. You will discuss it, but basically, you're kind of in the module there. But if you go and go into the other areas, and then you have to do like some excavation to get to one of them. Well, to get to 2 of the other areas, you have to do some excavation. And then the other one is just not pleasant. So I guess we'll talk about the slave pens now, which is really where you want to go.
Yeah, so the goal is the slave pens in D7. The reason being is the shooting star, the falling star is actually in this room. So it's in an open chest that it describes the occupants of the room are 2 Darrow students and 4 warriors, and they're all just like admiring the falling star and trying to figure out what it is when you walk in this room.
And the students are armed with like magic weapons. So this is your first time you're going to get some like magic items.
Yeah, they both have a +1 shield and a +1 longsword. And all this stuff is chaotic evil because they're awful.
Right. And they have spells memorized too. So this is the first time you're going to deal with spell users as well. The students have spells.
Oh yeah, they have a charm person, and one of them has a potion of diminution. Diminution? How do you say that word? Diminution? I always say diminution, but I could be wrong. We should ask Google. Yeah. Hey Google, how do you say that word?
Potion of diminution.
Doing this podcast, I realized that there's a lot of words I read that I don't say out loud. And saying them in my head is different than saying them with my mouth. Oh, and yeah, they also have anti-magic shell, shadow magic, and magic missile memorized. Or at least
shadow magic is magic missile, basically.
Oh, I see what it's saying. Shadow magic is magic missile, but they're they're fired at random targets.
It's a weird way to do that.
It's like a rewording of. I didn't know that. I didn't know what shadow magic did, so that's interesting. It's actually in my notes to look up, and I never did. Oops.
Oh yeah, so the slave dens have no slaves in them. That's also super fun. So they all got killed. So normally they would have a bunch.
Yeah, I suspect they all got killed, or they took them to try to get through the tunnels as fast as possible.
Right.
Or they ate them. I don't know.
Lovely.
Yeah, we just have it does talk about the chest, and it's just another situation in these old D&D modules where it spends like a really long time talking about a trapped chest. Right. There's like an entire paragraph. There's a 50% chance it'll appear to be blocked, and then you have to make a successful pick locks attempt, and then blah 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 blah. So it's like, once again, it's just, we really like talking about these, spending paragraphs talking about chests. In current D&D, it's probably like it's a DC 15 to unlock it.
Right.
They for sure got better in current versions of the game to like say more with less like page space. But I guess that is charming about this version of the game is let's spend some time talking about this chest. The chest does contain the shooting star, which it describes as spherical and the size of a small grapefruit. And it weighs 10 pounds.
And apparently very tough, which is kind of funny that you can chip it when it, fell to the planet. But okay, cool.
And the other weird thing about it is not magical. It is just a shooting star.
Yeah.
It's just a rock. I expected when you got to this part of the module, it would be like, this is a super magical, rare, the most magic thing on the earth. It's so magical. And it's like, nope, not magical. Just a resilient rock, really.
Yeah, that it's going to be very valuable to the people that want it.
Right. I assumed it was going to be some sort of magic key, but it doesn't appear to be that, even though it kind of is. And it says, it is of no great value to the adventurers except as a means of obtaining the set of books from the Kagu Smurf Neblin.
Is that how you say that?
I've always said Smurf Nebly.
Silvernebly? I always say Silvernebly.
Okay. Smurf Nebly. I've always said Smurf Neblin. It's probably... I wonder if that's like the plural of that or something. Although it is it's a proper noun, so it should be Smurf Neblys. Whatever. It's a very strange word.
It is.
So that's like your goal here. There's a few other rooms that have some strange things in them.
So basically, like from the temple, if you had just gone straight across rather than going to the side door, you would go into the chief's room. If you went, and they describe that, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a second. There's a corridor that doesn't have a door, and if you somehow were able to excavate to get into room 9, there's basically some ruins there and some stuff. But anyway, I don't know if we're going to talk about that or not. But anyway, and then if you also, where all the dead people that are getting eaten, there's an area where you could also then try to punch through, and that's room 10. So just kind of describing it I'm looking at the map, sort of describing, sort of when your players come in, they would see this.
Yeah, and then this chief's room, so the chief's room has the Darrow chief who has turned into a coffer corpse.
Right.
It says, unknown to the surviving Darrow, the coffer corpses of the chief and his lieutenants who were killed by the calamity have been digging their way through the rubble since. So, do you know what a coffer corpse is?
I do not.
Okay. Do you want to play the game of I send you the picture from Fiend Folio and you remember what it is?
Please do that. That is exactly what I need in my life. Okay.
I'm going to send it to you right now. I guarantee.
I kind of remember it actually, but it has been a long time.
It looks like it's when I looked it up, it's a kind of different type of zombie that when there's some sort of like funeral rite or something that doesn't happen, then it becomes a coffer corpse.
Yes, I do remember this picture. It is awesome and cool.
It is super cool. It is also like a little scary for I don't know, man. If I saw that picture when I was like 10, I would have like dropped this book and ran out of the room. It's like kind of a
No,
kind
I
of
was
a
into
freaky,
it. I was
kind
into
of
it.
freaky picture.
I don't know. The 80s were weird. I saw Alien when I was a kid. Like, this is cool to me. So,
Oh, okay. That's a very nice thing to show little kids.
yeah.
Although kids now are like love being scared. They're like
Yeah.
playing Five Nights at Freddy's with all the jump scares and stuff. So who knows? I was a anxious, frightened little kid all the time. So it was the opposite of me. So yeah, coffer corpses are. The Fiend Folio describes them as these foul creatures of the undead class are found in standard funeral barges or in any other situation in which a corpse has failed to return to its maker. So it says like it resembles a zombie, but it is treated as a wraith on the cleric undead table. So it's like a super zombie.
Yeah.
So I think the idea here is that because like the chief and their lieutenants died and they are stuck in this room, they became coffer corpses because they can't like in which a corpse has failed to return to its maker. So I guess that means like they're not going to the Darrow afterlife. So they became coffer corpses.
Yeah.
I guess that's like what's happening here.
Maybe because like the statue got destroyed and that's the god, and the god's like, you're a coffer corpse now because you didn't make sure I died. I don't know. I'm making all that
right.
up. I have no idea.
You didn't have a Christian burial, therefore you became a coffer corpse.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the insinuation here. I think they maybe just wanted to insert some weird monster in here. I need to close the Fiend Folio because if I have it open, I will just read this book the whole time.
It's so great. Seriously.
There's just so much fun stuff in there.
That's so great.
Okay, putting that away. Yeah. So there's no like, hey, obviously the big obvious trope here is like, hey, it's a magic shooting star and it's causing weird things to happen, like very like Lovecraft Color Out of Space type thing. No, it's just like they died and they became coffer corpses.
And the next room is basically like if you tunneled through to get to this room, you would see this, basically. You had to, like, get through the debris, and you see a massacre.
The only way into this room is tunneling. So D9, the only way into this room is tunneling through the temple. So from the temple, you would have to start digging or have, like, a magical way of getting through the rock. There's some, like, fun... I do like some of the descriptive text here. The air is thick with the smell of death, and the floor is littered with the corpses of shackled humans and small armored humanoids. So there's 15 Darrow corpses, 12 bodies of human slaves, and then buried beneath the fallen rock, there's 40 Darrow and 24 more humans.
Yay.
Yeah, so there's, that's 92 corpses in this room when you get in there?
Yeah. The Darrow Savant is there, and since he's there, he has like a wand, a ring of spell storing. So there's some really powerful stuff in here. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you got to go through.
Yeah, each of the Darrows also it says they have 1d6 PP, so 1d6 platinum pieces. So that, like, I guess that adds up if there's 90 things in here. You do, like, it is like, hey, you dug through this, your reward is more digging, because you would have to go through all of these to loot all these corpses.
Right.
But there is, like, the special boots, right? Yeah, fine leather boots.
Yep.
Oh, right. So if you will notice the fine leather boots, which is abnormal for the other corpses here, and then you will find the corpse is still gripping a wand that was shielded from the rocks by the thing's body. And it is a wand of metal and mineral detection with 45 charges. And the command word is Falaz,
which is inscribed on it.
And a magic ring of spell storing. So you do get some reward if you come in here, but
yeah,
you are rewarded with more digging.
Unlike the next room.
The next room you are not rewarded because in D10 there is a trapped Lamia.
So, like, basically, off to again, you're in the room where the corpses, the Darrow have been eating people, and you decide for some reason that there's two areas that are completely like you have to dig through to get through. So, if you decided to go to the one to the north, you would get into this area. If you try to go to the one to the east, then you're going to be digging for like ever and probably maybe not ever find anything, but you would be excavating for a really long time.
I do love that. So basically there was a Lamia in here.
Yeah.
It got trapped from everything collapsing and it was stuck in here. And it says here, Although the Lamia was, in theory, an ally of the Darrow, they were always fearful of her and were not at all dismayed to find that she had been trapped. So she was technically an ally, and then as soon as this happened, they were like, oh, not going back to get her. She's dead.
Yeah, and if you look, it's like the least amount of work they would need to get into a room when they're just like, we're good.
Oh, yeah, that's, oops, I lost their number. I guess I can't talk to them ever again.
Yeah, whoops.
And then I think that's probably it for the Darrow.
Yeah, the one thing that they do say, so the one thing that is also, like if you managed to clear all of this stuff out and got to the one corridor that leads on, which is basically 11, then it's like you were, like this is an adventure that we haven't written, so you'd have to write a whole new adventure involving the Darrow and the Greater Darrow and all of that other stuff if you wanted to. Hopefully your players are not like, yeah, we're just going to keep digging forever.
Yeah, there's a more, it feels like the structure of play was still not kind of set up. So they were telling you that specifically of like, when I say the structure of play wasn't set up, it's you couldn't just, you had to figure out how to play from these books. You couldn't just go and listen to, Critical Role or whatever to see what D&D is.
Right.
Or listen to, watch people play it. You had to, so they needed that type of thing in these books to be like, hey, like there had to have been some people that were reading these modules that didn't like the idea of that they could just do whatever they want and they were playing it like a board game, Yeah. It'd be like, hey, on Monopoly, you could technically take out a Sharpie and just make your own spaces if you really want. Like that's not how they were thinking. I do also want to point out at the very top of these pages, I know I talked about it with like the formatting, just, hey, do whatever you want. But at the very top of these pages on the top left and the top right, there's like there's art related to what we're doing. So on page 13, it's the falling star and it has text from the memories that are relevant to this.
Yeah.
So
that is really cool.
We're dealing with the falling star, and the memory on the top of page 13 is, you will not mistake it, a black rock seared by great heat, dull and seemingly worthless, only the falling star can help us. I implore you, do not return without it. So that's like, it's a really interesting way to lay out the page. Like it makes it more interesting to read, but it also is like a reminder of the DM of like, this memory is relevant to this part of the module. It's like it has like serves a double feature there. That I think that's what they were thinking of when they put it there. All right. So I think that's it about the Darrow.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to the next part of the adventure, which, well, that might not be the next part. You might do this part before the Darrow. But Thurno Pass. So this is, I think, if you go the other way around the mountain. So yeah, you might actually end up here. So Thurno Pass, you could go there before the Darrow layer. There's like multiple ways that this adventure is laid out. It
right.
has like these different like nodes, and you can go to multiple of them in a different order. But once you go to the node, you're probably going to do the whole thing. So this has I laughed out loud when I read this paragraph at the very beginning that says, in a bid to protect themselves, a band of human hunters have managed to overcome the natural suspicion of the family of giant beavers and have established a pact for their mutual protection.
I don't see what the problem is.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a little weird. I mean, it would make sense if one of them was a ranger or something, or a druid.
Well, the thing is, they don't need to be, because the giant beavers are intelligent and they can understand speech. So
right.
They don't need to speak. They don't need to use magic to speak with them.
Right. But I mean, just in general, I don't know, whatever. It's fine.
Well, it also says hunters, so I'm assuming they're just all ranger types anyways. That's how I envisioned them mentally when I was reading this.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
But yeah, just I didn't expect we're going from the super dark, these horrible alien creatures that like enslave people and eat their corpses. Like you turn the page and it's like, oh, the hunters, they made friends with giant beavers.
And this is kind of, so like you're going through a mountainous pass. I do want to point this out, and maybe you're already going to point it out. But anyway, you're going through this mountainous pass, and maybe you went to the forge first. Maybe you not the forge. Sorry, the Durno or whatever. And then all of a sudden, like you see a beaver dam, which is great.
Yeah, and so it also says the hunters regard their pact with the beavers as a solemn vow, and if the allies are under attack, they will not hesitate to aid them. So this is like, if you went to the druid first, this might be priming you for this section. But basically, it's like, hey, don't just like start killing stuff. Like you need to calm down. You need to look at your situation first.
Yeah.
Which I think like these UK TSR adventures seem like they have those things in here more.
Yeah, there's definitely more of like, hey, you don't just see some beavers and attack them. It behooves you to not do that. It behooves you to sort of wait to see what happens.
So yeah, the first encounter area is a giant beaver dam. And there's 3 giant beavers guarding the dam, and if they see the party, they will slap their tail on the water to attract the other adult beavers who will arrive in the scene on 2 rounds. So you will be immediately surrounded by beavers, I guess.
And humans. So if you wait even longer, the humans show up. So the longer you wait, the better off it is, because then you can go like, oh, fellow humans, what's going on with these beavers? And you know, where there's a beaver dam, there's a lake.
Yeah, and also there's paragraphs of text about like breaking, like how you would break the beaver dam, and it mentions the siege weapon rules on the DMG on page 109. And then it's like, hey, if you breach the dam, you'll be swept away by a deluge of water. And one thing that's like really funny to me, this sentence, you will sustain 2d8 hit points of damage due to battering, plus d10 hit points of drowning damage. This is the first time I've seen drowning damage mentioned in D&D, like a damage type, like a drowning type Pokemon or something.
Yeah.
I get it, that would damage you, but it's just like d10 hit points of drowning damage. I guess it is clarifying that it's not 2d8 is from the battering and d10 is from the damage to your lungs. I get it, but it just made me laugh when I read that. So this kind of area, this is like, you get the drift. It's a pass. There's a beaver dam, which is the big important thing. The other encounter areas are Beaver's Lake, Beaver's Lodge, and Hunter's Camp. And the idea here is that if you attack any of the hunters or beavers, that they are allies to each other and they will help each other out. But you can approach. Isn't there like a named hunter?
Yeah, there's a leader. It's basically like,
oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the whole idea is that you don't fight them. Hopefully, you can negotiate with them.
Yeah. So, on page, I'm just skipping a little forward to page 16. When the party is passing through the camp, the silence will be broken by a scream coming from one of the huts, the result of a child accidentally touching a hot hearthstone. Unless he has been influenced by some other magical means, the leader will shout an order. The hunter will attempt to seize the adventurers rather than attack, but he will refrain from retaliating for 1 round. The leaders will. So if the players retain from retaliating for 1 round, the leader will realize what happened. So when you get to the hunter's camp, there's this weird encounter where a child accidentally harms themselves and screams, and then there's confusion thinking that you caused it. And
right.
they immediately have them capture you, and it's supposed to be a test of like, do we start killing these people?
Right.
And the other thing, based on what you said also about the last part, on page 16, there's 7 women and 15 children. And the children notably have 2 HP each, and they are worth 7 XP each. Yep, so it has the children
more than slaves.
It has the children how much XP the children are worth.
Because someone played this and they just murdered everybody here, and then broke open the dam or something. I don't know. Because you could also, you get XP for. Oh, you know what? You get no XP for killing young beavers. I didn't notice that. So, you don't get any XP for killing beavers, but you do get XP for killing children.
Yeah, I guess I guess the children can fight back a little bit more than the baby beavers. That's still,
I guess.
Obviously, it's not written in a way that it wants you to do that, but it is funny that it includes that.
Well, I mean, this is even funnier. I mean, this is really funny to me. All right, so there's 15 children. They each have 2 hit points, and they have XP of 7. There are 5 young beavers. They have 10 hit points. They don't attack, but the children can attack, I guess. And they get 0. So I guess basically, if you don't have an attack, you don't get any XP. But if you have the ability to attack somebody, because the children can attack with a dagger, like, yeah, sure, like this 8-year-old's coming at me with a dagger, then you can get XP for that.
But it is like it is funny if you think about it, because it's 15 children, right? They all have a dagger.
Yep.
Their Thaco is 20. So like 15. So by the numbers, if you didn't have any armor, let's just say you're in robes, by the numbers, if there was 20 children, 10 of them would hit you. So it would be like 6 or 7 of these children would hit you if you didn't have armor. So you're getting stabbed for 64.
Well, the 7 women are attacking too, so
yeah,
that's
so this is
22
actually
attacks.
like kind of a threat now that I think about it.
Yeah, 22 attacks.
Yeah, you could be drowned out by the numbers game from these women and children coming at you with daggers. That's scary. Yeah, obviously this is not written in a way that you're supposed to do this, but it is a funny thought exercise to think about.
I mean, you might, because they try to seize you, and you're just like, what the hell? I punch him in the face or whatever, and then it's like, oh, game on.
Well, it's kind of interesting because that encounter itself is like a test of, I don't want to say a test of purity, because that's like not the right word, but it's like a test of like, are you heroic? Like, are you willing to solve this problem in a way that is not that does not make you a heroic adventurer?
Yeah, are you virtuous, basically?
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. Are you a virtuous or like valorous person? So that's like the test that this encounter is setting up. And if you aren't, and you start just murdering people, it's gonna be a lot harder for you.
Right, but you're gonna get XP.
Yeah, it also, like, if you tell them, hey, they're kind of like dealing with the Darrow on the like outskirts of their lands. So like, if you tell them that you fought with the Darrow, then they will basically be like, you guys are cool. We're gonna have the beavers not try to fight you. And the hunters will transport the party over the lake in their canoes and hurry them past their camp to the track beyond.
Yeah.
There is another detail that I wanted to talk about that I thought was really cool. It's like one of my favorite details in this module. In the Beaver's Lodge, if you go in there, there's a ring of warmth that the beavers are like cuddling on.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so well, they're not cuddling on it, but that's the insinuation. So lying amongst a pile of fish bones on one side of the nest is a ring made of bone, which can only be found if the pile is searched. It's actually a ring of warmth. So the idea is that like they have this in their nest and they're using it for warmth, which I thought was a really cool idea.
That is a good idea.
I guess I mentally made the idea of like beavers cuddling on it because I thought it would be cute. But
that's the detail you would like to show, especially when your party's about to enter in there and murder all of them. Like, oh, they're all cute little beavers running over a ring of warmth. They're like, I take the ring of warmth. Fuck these beavers.
You're much less trusting of the basic adventures that we are imagining in these modules when we read them. And maybe it's because you have more experience with this version of the game than me.
Yeah.
And you were also a child, and you wanted to solve all problems with sword.
Right. That is usually when I was playing these games as a kid. Usually the solution was sword everything and ask questions later.
But yeah, it's funny. Like when I as like someone who DMs, I read these adventures and I have like a little party in my head that I'm thinking about like going through this. And the version for you is they're just murdering everything.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I mean, it's first edition D&D. Most everyone's killing everything.
I'm just imagining it's the knight from is it Sir Robin? Was it Sir Robin in Monty Python the Holy Grail, the scene where he's like running and it like shows him
her way away.
Well, I'm talking about the scene where like the camera, he's like really far and he's like running.
Oh, that's
running
Lancelot.
And running, and then he like it cuts and he like teleports and chops them.
Yeah, that's Lancelot. That was not Robin. That was Lancelot.
Okay, that's the scene I'm thinking of.
And they're like, they're like just like standing there waiting, and then suddenly Lancelot comes up and murders both of them. Like, it's super quick, and then they're just like, what? Oh, one of them survives, I think, and then he comes back later and kills them. It's great.
Yeah, so
that's what I'm thinking. That's the first edition D&D game I'm used to.
Yeah, that's what's happening in your head when you read these. On page 17, moving over to the Tower of the Heavens. So the Tower of the Heavens we had talked about previously. This is where the sages are that read the future. And this is where there's like a little bit of a political drama unfolding here that your party gets involved in.
I would say this is more the meat of the module. Like, this is where, this is what it's kind of all about in a lot of ways.
Yes, I would say it's the meat of the module in that there's probably the most interesting thing is happening here, but the other things that you go to, we would call these micro dungeons.
Yeah.
Like, the other stuff that you go to, obviously they don't have enough like page space. All of these modules are usually like 30 to 50 pages. And if you're going to do multiple nodes or whatever, but like we would call these now micro dungeons. A micro dungeon is usually a thing that has like 4 or 5 rooms in it. That's kind of what we're dealing with here. But the Tower of the Heavens is where there's this political intrigue going on between there's like a power play from someone who's trying to overthrow someone else, and you kind of get involved in it based on like what you're doing.
Yeah, you're the agents of chaos that can kind of decide the fate of this whole thing.
Also, it seems like this module is like very uninterested in exploration. Like it just wants you to go to a certain place, and then like there's some exploration in that you're probably going to walk through this tower a bit, but that's not why the author is writing this module.
Yeah, it is really to discover this whole intricate plot that is going on between, the political intrigue that's at the tower, but also like the part of the plot of, these people really don't know what's going on, and they just get handed these books. So the books do this. They're sort of like this whole thing, and about predicting the future and how that all works. And so that's what this module is really all about. Is just all of this sort of intrigue and subterfuge, and like for instance, like the sages read the books to get the future, but they're not created, but no one knows that. They don't know that they're reading books. It's like there's all this sort of interesting plot and stuff going on here, and that's what this module is really about. It's not necessarily about exploration and all of that. So, yeah.
So to get to the tower, we kind of have to reach it first. So it straight up says like the tower is not difficult for the players to find. So one, you automatically, from killing the memory web in the beginning of the adventure, it just says where the Tower of the Heavens is.
Yeah.
You just know it's going to be marked on your map. And once you get there, it's like very obvious where it is because it's a giant tower. But you need to be able to cross the river to get to it. And the only person that can take you over is Hadley the ferryman. And it says no one else will be able to maneuver the boat near the islands because the river is so fast flowing.
Yeah, it's very treacherous. So only he knows how to navigate it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is kind of weird. So, sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. So that's how you have to get to it. And so this page 17, the page that we're on right now, it talks about like how you get to the tower, how you get in the tower, what's going on, and then the coup that's occurring. And then it also like it tells you the occupants of the tower, and it lays them out in 5 different groups. So there's Shelfay, who is like the person giving you the adventure. He's the keeper of the books. And then there's PRs, Lurg, Poro, and Capola. Is that Capola?
Lurg, Poro, and I would say Cipolla, like it's Italian, but it could be Cipolla.
So basically, PRs is trying to overthrow Shalfei and become the Elder Sage. And he's attended by these other monks. So Shalfei is the Elder Sage. He is kind of alone. He is locked in a room by himself because he doesn't trust any of these other sages. PRs has got these other sages that are attending to him, defending him and obeying his every order, and he's like currently working to overthrow Shalfei. The third group is a gnome garrison, so it's a group of mercenaries that are paid to serve the Elder Sage. And they have been convinced that, by PS, they have been convinced that Shalfei is dead. So that he is controlling the mercenaries now, because he's now the Elder Sage, because he's the second in succession. And then the fourth group is the staff, and then the fifth person is Hadley the ferryman.
Yeah.
So that's
Hadley knows what's going on.
Yeah, Hadley is confident that Shelfie is still alive. So what do we think about this? What do you think about this whole situation?
I love it.
I do too. There is a problem with it that we'll get to later, but I do love that it's basically two factions and a third that is kind of like being lied to, essentially.
Right.
And then, of course, there's just like attendants and staff that are working in this building that are civilians that have really nothing to do with what's going on with any of these politics. But pretty much everyone except Hadley the ferryman believes that Shelfay is dead. So moving on to the next page, 18. This talks more about so it kind of it talks about like what happens if an inevitable fight breaks out. It basically says if the alarm is raised, then all of the sages and scholars, etc., and monks in the building, they kind of like shelter and play. They like go to, I think it was the Scholars Hall, and then they have the gnome garrison deal with the intruders. I do love that the mercenaries are all gnomes. I love that.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
That's a cool image. Maybe I'll make a gnome mercenary D&D character at some point. I like that image. So Hadley the ferryman, he can carry 10 passengers over, and he can get you over without charge. He will greet the venturers with the first part of the password, which is fair as the day. And he hopes for the reply, but fairer the jewels of the evening.
And in the memory web, it says, remember it well, fair as the day, but fair the jewels of evening, which is at the top of this page.
Yes.
So if basically if they sort of remember the memory web, they can use that.
So when I got to this, my first thought was like, that requires a lot of paying attention over multiple sessions, unless you go here first.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe people have more better attention spans when this was written, but I feel like every D&D group I've ever wrote would be like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What's happening? And they would need a hint.
It seems like this is a password, and they're just like, I don't know. Like, so do you remember the memory web? Maybe you should look at those.
I guess you could be a little obvious and be like, it sounds like he's trying to get you to say something. And then they'd be like, oh, the memory web, and go look at all the memories.
Right. Hopefully.
But I would have handed the memory web out like as a printout, so my players would have it in front of them. Oh, okay. And then assuming you give him the password, if you don't, he's not going to take you to the tower. If you do, he assumes that you're an ally because that's Shelfay's password.
Yeah.
So he gives you this entire monologue about what's happening as you go to the tower. Okay. So we're gonna read his monologue as he's crossing the river.
My name is Hadley, monk of the Order of the Night Sky, whose members have been sworn to the service of the sages of the Tower of Heavens.
They say that Shelfay, my master and the greatest of the sages, is dead, and that Piars, who is his pupil, is now keeper of the books. But I know this to be untrue, and since you somehow know the password, I will risk all and beg aid from you.
Since first I came to the tower, I have walked by the river each evening, and Shelfay has spoken into my mind to instruct me and gain news of visitors. That evening, after my master had been proclaimed dead, I walked once more by the river in the memory of him. Then briefly I felt his thoughts touch mine. They were filled with fear, and he placed in my mind only the password and response which we have just exchanged. Since then, no further messages have come.
Piars is evil, and has long sought Shelfay's title. He has bent the minds of the lesser sages, while his fellow monks, sworn to their individual masters, could do nothing but obey. I fear foul play, for the monks closest to my masters had left the tower on a secret mission only the day before his supposed death, leaving him defenseless.
Whether Shelfay is alive and a prisoner, or dead, as Piras claims, the usurper and his minions must be destroyed. It is you who will undertake this task. You should pose as travelers seeking answers from the sages. Wait in the hostel until called to the main island. Then, when you are brought to the hall of questions, burst through the curtain behind which the sages hide and run them to the ground. My brother monks will oppose you even until death in honor of their vow, and if need be, you must kill them. Spare only Shelfay, who wears the white robe. No more now. We draw near to the island. There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. So from his perspective, so he does mention the monks from the very beginning of the module, because There's like a little bit of a timeline here. So Shelfay sent his personal guard, the monks, on the mission, and then they were killed by the memory web. So he doesn't know. Hadley doesn't know all of this has happened. Of course, your players could tell him, but basically he's in a situation now where Shelfay's stuck alone in a room and he's communicating with his only ally, which is Hadley. He's communicating to him telepathically through, presumably through like magic. So Hadley's not going to accompany you. He basically gives you the mission, and this might be like you could do this in a bunch of different orders. This might be the first thing you do after the memory web, because I think it's pretty reasonable for players to be like, we know about this Tower of the Heavens, let's go there.
Right.
Like that's very reasonable. Okay, so when you get to the island, you get to the island, and it's guarded by where you land is guarded by 6 gnomes. So you immediately meet these gnome mercenaries, and they're all wearing chainmail and shield.
So to also set it up, there's two islands. One is the island of the tower, where the actual tower is, and then there's the smaller island. So there's like a small island where all the gnomes are, and they sort of keep. That's like also where, I guess that's where you go. Is that right? Okay, hold on. I gotta redo this. I need to reread this.
Oh no, that's fine. Hadley takes you to T2.
Okay, so he takes you to the smaller island. Okay, so the way this works is Hadley takes you to the small island, and because there's 2 islands. There's an island with the actual tower, and then there's a smaller island that's where a bunch of the garrison of gnomes are. And so the idea is that you're going to be there, and you got to wait there until they call for you to come to the bigger tower. Or at least that's what you want to happen. But the players could obviously do whatever they want to. They could just go right over to the other tower if they have some means of getting over to there.
Yeah, and I think that also you're supposed to, at least they want you to talk about, stay in the hostel and talk to, the staff, because it gives you some more information about, who's running things, and it says, they don't know anything about the attempted coup that's happening. They just believe that Shelfay died of natural causes. And that now PRs is the keeper of the books because he was second in command. He was the next in succession.
Yeah, and now that I'm looking at the actual map, because that helps, it's connected by a big bridge, like a sky bridge, I'm assuming, or a drawbridge between the 2 islands. So basically, you go to the first little island and you're just hanging out there at the hostel, and then at the top of that smaller tower on the smaller island is the actual guard room with the 6 gnomes. And then, you cross this sort of bridge over to the visitor area.
So yeah, this is the way this is set up is really unique.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's kind of I don't know, maybe the Tower of the Heavens could have been expanded to be its own adventure, honestly.
Yeah.
So this is a very a pretty interesting adventure.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because the idea is that they ship people over to the little island, and you can't get to the big island except through the small island. So you go to the small island, you're sort of, the guards are going to make sure you're legit, right? And the gnomes and all the people there are yeah, we could see you, or no, you're a bunch of bumbling idiots, we're not letting you in. So you just sit there for whatever reason. There's not sure to play your characters, but somebody that is visiting the island, right? Or visiting these sages. They're sort of previewed. What do I want to say? What's the word? They're not previewed. They're looked at before. What do I want to say? Vetted. So they vet you before you can come to see the sages, which is totally smart. Makes a lot of sense. And then, you go from there. I really like the way this is set up.
Yeah. Also, there's another reason they might be vetting you, because you eventually go to T5, the Questioner's Hall. And I just want to I really like this description here. I just want to read this. So this is in the main tower when you get led over from the small island. It says, you are led into a shadowy, somber room lit by the dancing flames of 4 braziers. Dusty red curtains line the walls. The ceiling is blackened, and the marble floor has been worn by the soles of countless feet. I love that. Love that description.
Great. Yeah, that's great.
But the other reason you probably are being vetted is because you're going into this room, and it's kind of a scam.
Yeah.
You meet Lurg the Sage, and I just want to talk about... so there's gnome guards here, and you meet Lurg the Sage, and I kind of want to talk about his stats a little bit, because it has like the normal stats laid out. Like you see all of his like wisdom, dexterity, whatever, and how much XP he's worth and what he's wearing. But it also says major field of knowledge, supernatural and unusual. And minor field of knowledge, physical universe. We've not read a module that has this, right? Where it tells you major and minor field of knowledge. I think the Druid had that too. So it's kind of like, I mean, I like knowing what these characters know. I mean, you could kind of suppose based on their profession as a DM what they know, but I think that's like a pretty cool little detail.
I agree. Yeah, no, it's cool that they it gives them flavor of like what they would know and what they would understand, and when you talk to them, it's cool. Also to note that in the entrance room where there's 12 gnome guards, and then in that little guard room there's 6. So you're talking about like 18 gnomes of guards that you're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, all have chainmail, so they have decent chainmail and shields, so they have like pretty good armor.
Yeah, and and there's also like an auberge, who I assume is just like the captain.
So you go over here, and basically there's like, it says if allowed to run its course, the ceremony is relatively simple and businesslike. He will ask visitors for their questions, and then he will demand a payment of 3,000 gold, no matter what the question is. And then he will what is it? Doesn't he like go behind a curtain? He will instruct the party to place the offer.
Yeah, so he's behind the curtain, I believe, right? Yeah, so I think he's behind the curtain, and there's an unseen servant behind the curtain.
Yeah, so Lurg is behind the curtain the entire time. And he instructs you, no matter what you ask, to put 3,000 gold on the ground, which will be collected and taken behind the curtain by the unseen servant. And then he says, Lurg has no access to the books of prophecy and will simply remain silent behind the curtain for 3 turns while he concocts a meaningless but impressive answer.
Right.
So it's a scam.
He's basically scamming you out of 3,000 gold.
He's doing the Wizard of Oz thing behind the curtain.
And if you remember, good old Hadley has instructed you to attack on sight.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, do you want to do that with all these gnomes here? Like it's making the UKTSR modules like kind of force your players to think about how they do things. Because like you probably, I mean, maybe if you come here later and you have some magic spells that can help you, but like you probably can't just like run this guy through behind the curtain. Although that is a really, really funny visual.
Right. And there's 2 monks too. So there's like a total of, 12. Yeah. So there's like in 4, there's 12 gnome guards. In 2, there's another 6 plus a captain. And then in that room, there's him with the 2 monks. So like you could just straight up murder him and all of that stuff, which is kind of what he told you to do. But, then you're going to be dealing from then point on, like all the gnome guards coming and fighting you. And there's already, like, there's 18 of them and a captain. So that's a lot of what you're going to have to fight.
Right. Plus, he does have some spells. Like, if you don't kill him, he's going to walk out of the curtain and color spray your party. He has color spray and mirror image.
So he's going to mirror image himself, probably first. And then he's going to color spray.
Yeah, mirror image behind the curtain and then walk out and color spray.
Yeah.
So probably not a winning situation for your party, but like, hey, if you could just come here and murder everybody, then that solves your problem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So once the party has been given the guards. Okay. Yeah. And if you actually go with the scam, once you get the answer, they will take you back to the ferry and instruct you to leave.
Right.
Basically, we're done with our transaction. Get out.
Which may have happened if you didn't give Hadley the password. You're just like, yeah, I just give him 3,000 gold and left, or I don't know. It could be interesting.
Right. And the answer you get will always be meaningless. It'll always be some, probably like a haiku or something that doesn't make any sense.
Right. So he's behind the curtain and all that stuff. I don't know how you deal with him. Like, if you just straight up murder him and then you want to keep going, there's a stone guardian you have to deal with after that to get into the next part of the tower. And once you deal with that, the rest of the tower, basically there's a whole garrison quarters and there's 40 gnomes and a captain. So that's a lot of gnomes you're going to have to deal with throughout this whole thing if you can't somehow get them on your side or at least get them questioning whether they should attack you. So yeah, you really got to think about what you're doing here because you're going to get overwhelmed pretty quickly. So like the rest of this level, there isn't that much to talk about. Because that's really what you're dealing with. It's when from 6 and then from 11, you can go up or down, I believe, because there's an upper level, obviously, and then there's a lower level. The lower level is where all the sages' chambers are, and we'll talk about those. But then, and then above there is like, that's where like Shalfrey is. So like if you can go up, you're going to be dealing with Shalfrey and what's going on with him, and you're trying to aid him, but you don't necessarily know the layout of the whole tower yet either. So unless you somehow know the layout of the tower, you don't know to go up there to try to aid him, and he'll probably be able to help you with all this.
Yeah, I mean, it should be hard to figure out. Like, you could talk to the staff and be like, what's going on? The other thing about the gnomes is, like, I feel like it should not be very hard to convince the gnome mercenaries that something weird is happening. Because it's like, oh, Shalfey died, the Elder Sage. Where's his body? Where is he buried? Because
it's even as simple as, like, Halfrey told us this information. What do you guys think about this? This is really weird. Like, and we had all these, like...
Wouldn't there be a ceremony if the Elder Sage of a famous wizard tower died? That's weird. Shouldn't be hard to convince them. Also, the Captain Gnome's name is Captain Mainwaring.
Yeah.
Mainwaring? No one in this adventure has a normal name.
No.
It feels like...
It's all very English, just to put it that way.
Yeah, maybe this is another TSR, like, oh, we put a bunch of English names in here. Shalfey is just a normal name that people have. So now we're going on to page 21, the Sage's Chambers. This is the part that I'm like the most confused about in here, because so it talks about the Sage's Chambers, and when we go there, there's 5 or 6 different paragraphs here about like how the sages work, and like so there's the keeper of the book, and then who's Shalfey, and then there's 4 lesser sages, and then the tutor, who teaches the pupils, blah, 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 who is the appointed successor to Shalfey. And then it says, and I put a question mark on here because I was super confused by this. Each sage is characterized by symbols imprinted into the skin of his arms. These symbols look like tattoos, but in fact are magical and change with the status of the sage, but not otherwise. Thus, PR's arm still bears the mark of the tutor, despite his claim to be the title elder. In addition, the robe and the tunic of each sage is a characteristic color. Lurgs are red, Poros are blue, Cipollas are yellow, and PRs are black, and Shalfey's white. So, like, he's trying to do this conspiracy, but there's a magical, like, truth thing that you can tell he's lying.
Right.
So how is he convincing the other people that know this that Shalfey is dead?
I think he said that he's wearing like long sleeves or something, so it doesn't show his tattoos.
But even then, the color of his robes would change, and they haven't. So how is this happening? This is the thing I'm confused about. And hopefully, like, I don't know if I'm being pedantic or there's that thing I'm not getting here. But obviously, this is like supposed to maybe a hint for the players to be like, oh, hey, there's this really simple thing. Like, look, there's a magical symbol. Why is he hiding his tattoo? But it seems like it would be hard to do this if that's what's happening. Like, obviously, the gnomes probably don't know this. So And I guess the players actually finding this out would be difficult, but I feel like the retainers and the people that work at the hostel would all know this. It would kind of be like, hey, I'm the new pope, and the other pope died, and you're like, but what happened to the doves and the procession? And like, I don't know. It's just, I don't understand this. You know what? I'm going to actually while you're doing that, I'm looking at the 5th edition module just to see if they changed this, because I don't remember it specifically.
So the only way I can sort of think about how this would work is that, you know, Pyrez is probably in his... So the gnomes and stuff are all on the top floor, or this top area. Not the very top, because the very top is Shalfei, is the middle floor. And pretty much on this floor, the Sage's Chambers floor, there are no gnomes. There's no gnomes that are there. So all I can think of is that somehow he is telling them that he is this without them actually seeing him. That like his monks are going over there and telling him what to do, or the other sages are telling them what to do, but they haven't. He's in this sort of precarious position where he can't really show them any of the trappings that he is now the Elder Sage.
Interesting.
And also the other piece to realize is that the only way you can go up to the very top of the tower, at least from what I'm seeing, is that the only way you can go to the top of the tower is to come down to Shalfei's area, is to come down to the Sage's Chambers, and then you have to go back up to go to Shalfei's thing. Like the gnomes can't get to his tower, part of the tower, unless they go below into the Sage's Chambers and then go back up.
Okay.
So they probably don't see him much anyway, or almost at all.
I will say, so I'm looking at the 5th edition version of this, the one that was in Quest from the Infinite Stairwell, and I'm just going to read the excerpt from the 5th edition one. Each tower sage has magical tattoos on their arm, glowing constellations that magically update to reflect the sage's hierarchy within the tower's prophetic order. Though Piaz claims to be the new elder sage, Shalfei lives on, so the tattoos on Piaz's arms have not changed. Piaz covers his arms when he's around the Griswold garrison and the hostile staff, worried they'll discover his secret. They do not have the thing about the robes. So I think that's a plot hole.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think that's a plot hole. The tattoos make sense, because that would be a thing that you could cover.
Right.
And I like that, because it's like, oh, why is he being... you could convince learn that from the hostile staff and then be like, oh, well, that's weird. He's always covering his arm. Like, use that as a bargaining tool. But the thing about the robes makes no sense to me. I think that's a plot hole, honestly.
Yeah, I think that you're right. It's a plot hole. And also, maybe they didn't think it would be a plot hole because of what I said, that like, oh, he's down below and they don't do that, but don't explain that. So it's like, yeah, I think it's a bit of a plot hole. You're right. Yeah, he wears white robes. So Shalfei does wear white robes. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And he's wearing blue, and he's continuing to wear blue. The only way you could like get around that plot hole is to say he's now wearing white robes, but it doesn't say that.
Yeah, for some reason I was assuming that like the robes were magical and like changed. It doesn't look like that's the case. But that's still a clue, and that's been omitted from the 5th edition version. So I do think that's a bit of a plot hole.
Yeah, there's something going on here because he's supposed to wear blue robes. He hasn't changed blue robes, so what's going on?
Yeah. So I guess that's more of a hint. My first reading of this was because their robes are this specific color and they also have this magic tattoo, when the magic happens, it also changes the color of the robe. That's what I was thinking was happening. So this is so there's just no detail about the robe in the 5th edition version.
Right.
But still, I guess that's another clue that the players could use. I guess maybe it's not a plot hole and I'm just dumb. And the way that I read it was that the robes were also magic and changed.
Yeah, but he keeps on saying, he does not in here, like in the module, he doesn't say he changes his robes to white.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because Shalfei, I guess he could get some robes, but if they're like ceremonial, he probably doesn't have the right robes. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but you're right. Like, there's this weird. It's definitely an omission of like, is he wearing blue robes or white robes? I mean, and I guess part of it. I mean, really, what I think what you're supposed to do is like confront him somehow, or get the gnomes to ask him, or go down there and say like, "Hey, let me show you my arm. Like, let's see what the arm's like." But it could be just as simple as like, you get the gnomes to go down there and they look at him like, "Well, why are you wearing blue robes?"
Yeah. I will say that them omitting it in 5th edition, be the fact that we've had this conversation and we're confused about it, it might be why they got rid of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, for some reason I read that as, because it's like they have a magic tattoo that changes, and they also wear robes based on their position. I thought the magic robe changed. So like the moment Shalfei dies, the next person's robe becomes. I
mean, it kind of reads that way. It doesn't really say.
That's what I thought was happening. So when I read this, I was like, if everyone the staff all knows this, then they should be like, why don't you have the tattoo, which you can hide, but why don't you have the robe as well? So anyways, I just thought that seemed like a plot hole, or like a just not very.
It's definitely not explained, and it keeps on saying that Poros are blue, Perez are black, and Shalfers are white, and it's like it doesn't say that he's changed his robes. And I can't, and all the monks are in on it, right? Like they're all trying to get him to be the next one, or he's fooling them. I can't remember which.
So it looks like, it says, these sages were Shalfei's pupils until PRs involved them in his attempt to seize power. They are attended by monks who were sworn to defend them and obey their every order. So it sounds like he's fooled them or tricked them, from what I'm gathering.
Yeah, so the guards could be convinced, but the sages are basically on his side. So it could also be, you could say that like the other sages are dealing with the gnomes and he's just in his room. And so like they say, which is going to cause a lot of suspicion anyway, because like the gnomes are going to go, especially because they're gnomes and they're pretty tricky and smart. They're going to go like, well, yeah, you're right. They never have said, we've never seen Perez in the white robes, and we haven't looked at his arm. We don't know for certain, like, because you could put that doubt into them.
Mm-hmm.
And then say, like, the gnomes demand you go see them, and, you could have the sages be like, no, he's, like, super busy, or whatever, and finally the gnomes demand it, and then that way you get the gnomes on your side. Because you kind of need the gnomes on your side, because if they're not on your side, you're probably going to die. I mean, who knows for sure, but, we'll see.
Yeah. So anyways, it's just another clue, I guess, that the players could use. But we were understandably a little confused by the robes, and that's probably why they removed them. And, the 5th edition, it looks like they talk about the robe colors sometimes, but that's not. It looks like they more want you to deal with the tattoo.
Yeah.
All right. I'm ready to move on from that.
Yeah.
So page 22, T14, the Lesser Library. One thing, this is just a pretty cool detail. It says it contains the less important books of the tower, but is also affected by a permanent silence spell. So I like the idea of a magical library that permanently is silent. I know Candlekeep, you can't. In Candlekeep, in Forgotten Realms, there's like a ban on fire. Like fire just doesn't work. But like this, it's like a silent spell. So that if you're writing a political intrigue adventure, having a place that's silent is pretty interesting. You can do a lot of stuff with it.
Yeah, and like if you fight in here, they're not going to be able to. Anything that's you can't cast any spells that use verbal components. I'm not sure. Like they talk about them casting like hypnotic pattern and stuff like that, but I don't know if they can or can't, based on. I don't remember. We'd have to look it up, but like they would fight and use color spray and hypnotic pattern and stuff and run away. That's what the sages will do. But the other piece I think is actually the cooler part is that like you can't communicate inside the party. So like your party members can't talk to each other because they're under silence.
Right, but this might be the perfect if you're going the murder route. This might be the perfect opportunity for the thief in the group to walk up and backstab one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they only have 15 and 17 HP. It could take one backstab to kill them.
Yep. I do want to say a little bit about the layout. So, like, you basically could come down two different ways. One is from above. You'll either come down to the Scholars Hall, but more than likely you will come down to, which is where Pyrez is. So you might just, like, if you somehow can do that, you might, if you somehow befriend the gnomes or you kill them all, you go down to a certain level where you could then automatically go to his area, which is the Scholars Hall, or you'll come down more likely either the area that we didn't really talk about, which is the dormitory, which is very interesting, or the lesser library. And then connected to the lesser library are each one of the sages' chambers that aren't Pyrez.
Okay, I think that's it for the library.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to talk about the pupil sage's chamber.
I kind of just did.
Oh, well, anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was confused where that was.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird, because I'm looking at the map, because I forgot that I should keep looking at the map when I do these things, because it does get confusing. Like, we're just going through each area, and it's like, well, actually, that area isn't interesting because
you can't even get there.
Yeah, it's like, why are we talking about it?
The Scholars Hall is where you find PRs.
Yes.
So he's there with his monk guards and his imp familiar.
Yep. He's kind of evil. He's lawful evil for those, keeping track.
Yeah, interestingly enough as well, the dialogue in the box assumes that the sages fled from you. Because it says, the men who fled from the library are here and regard you fearfully.
Yeah.
But it's just basically, it's like another thing where it's like, you should amend this description if it doesn't suit you. We see that a lot in these adventures.
Yeah, because like I said, you could go, there's a different way to go down, and you go right into this chamber, and you wouldn't see the other sages. You just go right to Pyrez.
But it's interesting that it includes that as a default instead of saying, hey, you should like the other way around. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that like anyone in these modules that has spells, there's always a little snippet about how they fight. It's like they sit back and they cast mirror image, and then they use suggestion to try to make you drop your sword, or like there's always like directions on how to use spells.
Yeah.
Which is funny. Like maybe they thought the DM would need that. But I think the module wants you to kill this guy.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the 3 monks that are with him are actually pretty tough. Like, they're 20 HP apiece. And they're doing 2d8 open hand with 3/2 attacks. I mean, like, they get 2 attacks and then 1 attack, 2 attacks, 1 attack on each turn.
Right. This is D&D. All the monks know Kung Fu.
Yeah, they all know Kung Fu.
Oh, yeah, the other thing. PR's chamber. So T17... did you want to say anything else about PRs?
No. So,
okay.
And PR's chamber that we're going to talk about, that is off to the side. It is not going towards this next area, which is towards Shalfie's Tower.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, go ahead.
There's a fun, so in his chamber, in PR's chamber, there's a fun little encounter here. Hovering above a large coffer in the center of this black bedroom is a spherical creature which regards you quizzically with its single large unblinking eye. So there's a spectator in the center of the room.
Yep.
Which is like a beholderkin thing. But it will say like it will engage you in conversation and will only attack in self-defense or if you try to get into the coffer. So he's just there to protect it. But I do like the idea of like having a nice little like conversation with the spectator who's just gonna protect the coffers, and that's all he's doing.
Yep. I mean, what's in the coffers is pretty decent. There's like 1,000 platinum and 2,600 gold.
Right, and a spell book with a bunch of spells on it.
Yeah.
A folding boat, the most important item that you can have in D&D.
Yep. And a mace +1.
Okay, so moving on to Shalfie's Tower. We're still on page 24 here. This is like where the great library is that has the books, the special books in it. And to get to it, you have to go through the Bridge of Faith. The description here, I guess I'll read it because there's a hint here. The description is, the deafening roar of rushing waters greets you as you open the door, which leads onto a narrow ledge. At the far end of the long room, another ledge leads to a similar door, but between them is a yawning pit with a foaming torrent at its bottom. On each side wall are inlaid the words, "I am real, have faith, and pass safely." So this is like, this is a weird trap room thing.
Yes.
So there's two illusions on the bridge. One of them makes the bridge invisible, though you could still feel it on your feet, and if you like bend down to touch it, you can still feel it. So it's just invisible. The second is a tactile illusion that no matter, even though the bridge is like not moving, it will feel as if it is trying to, like, it's bucking violently and shaking and trying to throw you off. But weirdly, this illusion cannot be disbelieved, and the only way the characters may use the bridge is to overcome the body's natural response. So it's like this is like a test of purity, not really like a test of valor. It's like,
yeah,
can you separate yourself from your body to understand what's happening here?
And then you have to do a skill check, kind of sort of, or an ability check here, which is sort of funny.
Yeah. So you roll 3d6, try to get equal to or lesser than your intelligence or wisdom. And I love this phrase. Otherwise, they will literally throw themselves off it, believing they're responding to some violent movement of the bridge. And it happens when you're halfway across. I would probably omit the Bridge of Faith. I don't know if I love this part.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, if you had today's rules, it would be fine. 5th edition, I think it'd be fine.
Yeah, it's a little clunky.
Because, you could do a lot of, like, stuff and, try to figure it out. But I think for this, it's too clunky. And you might have, like, going through all of this, they finally got to this part, and then, like, they roll poorly and they all die. Or a bunch of them die.
Yeah, so, I think maybe I would consider, I guess this is the type of thing that it's like on the chopping block to be cut for pacing. If I'm running a game, it's like the first thing to go if I need to cut it.
Right.
Okay, so now we've reached the Greater Library, T19. So this is a weird encounter, kind of. Yeah.
This is very weird. It has a whole page. I mean, there's a section with just him and his stats and all of that stuff, and then there's like a whole page of just talking to him.
Okay, so first, the door is wizard locked. So if you try to break through it, it says, unless you surprise him somehow, he will set fire to the books of prophecy. So you'll walk in the room and he has set fire to them because he doesn't want Piaz to have them.
Even though they're kind of useless at this point, but whatever.
So however if you get in there, he's just going to assume that it's Piaz coming to kill him, and he's getting rid of the books. But I do love this imagery of when you enter, it says, assuming he burned the books, there is an old man here wearing white robes standing before a pile of burning books. When he sees you, he looks surprised and relieved. So you walk in and he's just burning books, which is like such an interesting image. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you could cast knock, right? Knock gets rid of wizard lock, so you could cast knock and then just open the door, and maybe he hasn't burned the books, I guess. Yeah,
I'm assuming you can also just yell and say that you're an ally.
Right, but he might not believe you because of Perez and all of that. So, but remember, him burning the books isn't really that big a deal, right? Because they're kind of useless at this point. It's a big deal for Perez because he doesn't want Perez to know the secret, right?
Yeah, because Perez at this point, I don't think knows that they're blank. I think only Shalfei knows.
Right.
So, from Perez's perspective, it'd be funny if Piaz is with the players somehow. You like convinced him that you're on his side and you're going to go kill him, and then like he opens the door and he's burning the books. So just kind of an interesting little segue there. And by the way, there's 35 books, so it is a fairly significant pile of books.
Yeah. Oh, he has Burning Hands, so maybe that's what he does. He just casts Burning Hands on it. As if a level 9 magic user. So
the next page, first of all, the art of Shalfei burning the books. I love this.
Oh, yeah. That is him casting Burning Hands, isn't it?
He's casting Burning Hands on the books, and you can see his like tattoos, the magical tattoos from his station. And I don't know. It's just it's really cool art.
It's cool. Yeah,
it's kind of cool. Like the type of I've called it WTF art before. Like when you look through the module and you see this art, you're like, I can't wait to have context on what the hell that actually is.
Yeah.
So there's this entire like half a page about the conversation with Shalfei, but it just says like, hey, the DM, you should keep in mind the most important aspect of this meeting is to encourage the party to go to the Forge of Kavu Snurfnebly. So he's going to lead you there. If you don't have the shooting star, he will be like, hey, go get the shooting star and come back. If you came here first, which I think is a possibility. I think that's a pretty high chance that the players just go, right, we should go to the tower first. And he basically will tell the players, there's 4 different points here. Hey, I'm going to tell the players, like, he's going to tell the players his observations is what's going on.
Right.
And you already know this from, like, dealing, like, the memory web and everything. Although he is not totally truthful to the party because it says that he's, like, what he tells you, he's distorting the truth. He wants to conceal the reliance on the books of prophecy as needed for the prophecy. Yeah,
so he wants to basically, like, he doesn't want you to know his true power or where his power comes from, really. So he's going to try to not let you in on the the real secret, which he probably hasn't told Perez either. I assume that it's really like the books of prophecies. That's what really tells you.
Yeah, only the top sage can read those books.
Yeah.
He basically offers you to go to the forge, and he says he will exchange in this room. There's like a shimmering globe that only he can enter that has treasure in it. And he will offer the players a reward based on their class for going to the forge and exchanging. The goal of this is to exchange the shooting star for the new books of prophecy in the forge of the Kagu Swerfnebly.
Right.
It does have the adventurer's rewards here too, and I think this is the first instance of a reward based on a class that we've seen. I don't think we've seen anything like that yet, which is kind of weird. It seems like that's something that would have happened earlier than this adventure. But it makes sense. So you're giving a wizard plate mail. It's like, what are they going to do?
Yeah, what are they going to do with that? Nothing. But and I think they do it for every member of the party.
Yeah, I think every single member, he will offer a reward of a magical item for each adventurer from the treasury. And he can enter it, so you can't just murder him and take his key or whatever.
Right. They would specifically don't want you to murder Hobo him. So I should say, from the map's point of view, the way this works is you go across we talked about the bridge. You go across the bridge, and then you'll basically go up a bunch of stairs up to the next level, like the level where all the guards and stuff are at. But that's actually where his that's where the greater library is, right? So that's where he's at. And then you'll go up another set of stairs that goes up into this next part, which is the labyrinth, and then to the observatory.
Yeah, and the labyrinth is very weird.
The labyrinth is very strange. It's sort of like, why are you going there? And the observatory is also sort of not all that great. So, because if you think about it, like, I think the idea is they put this labyrinth in there. You basically go up another set of stairs past the great library. It goes into the labyrinth. It's like this crazy thing that's hard to get into. We could talk about it. And then the observatory is on the very top. So I think the idea is that, like, you think, and maybe everyone except for Shalfrey thinks that, like, everything that he's predicting is up on the observatory, but there's nothing really there because it's really all in the books. That's why there's, like, nothing in the observatory, but there's this, like, crazy maze thing.
You get to the labyrinth, and there are words inscribed on the stairs leading to it that says, "Turn back, for in the maze is a death beyond your imagination." And it's not really mapped out. It's just basically you go in here and it's the maze spell. So depending on your character's intelligence is how many rounds you're stuck in the maze. And the maze constantly makes phantasmal killers. The percentage chance of a character meeting a phantasmal killer is equal to 5 times the number of rounds spent there. So the worse your intelligence is, the more likely you will run into one.
And basically, like, because Joffrey has an 18 intelligence, he can get through this maze really easily. He probably doesn't even do it that often because he doesn't really need to.
And it's also like,
but basically, like, yeah, it's like super hard to get through.
on the map, it's not even mapped as a maze. It's just like a blob. It's just like, this is room 20, which I guess like mapping, like doing a maze. We talked about this in Caves of Chaos, but dealing with a maze is like in D&D is a little kind of hard.
Yeah, for sure. And you're kind of just, I mean, it's an intelligence like saver. I forget how it works in there, but basically, like, you're having to use your intelligence to get through, and of course, your fighter is never going to get through, because he's dumb, probably along with the cleric. So, and you're rewarded with absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it's just more information, I guess.
So I think it's more like, Joffrey's like, you're like, hey, I want to go see the observatory. He's like, you don't, you're good. But if you murder him and you're like, oh, there must be something at the end of all this, and then you find out there's nothing, it's like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah, I feel like the observatory should have some sort of like absolute clue to tell you that it's all the books and it has nothing to do with the observatory or something.
Yeah, it would be nice.
I'm not sure how I would do that. I'd have to think about it, but that's what I would do if I was running this. Like, I would put all the evidence in that room. It's like, you went through this stupid maze, now you understand. All right, Kyle. So we are in the last section of this adventure, the Forge of the Kagu Smurf Nebly.
Did you just say Smurf Nebly?
Smurf Nebly.
It's Smurf.
The Forge of the Kagu
Smurf Nebly is better.
Smurf. Obviously that's whoever made that word up made it to be straight weird to say.
Yes.
That's a very, actually, I don't know who made that word up, but it sounds like a very Gygaxian word.
It is. It feels very Gygaxian, but also sort of like Norwegian or something. So
anyways, Forge of the Kagu Smurfnebly. So this is the last section of the adventure. So however the players have got here. So you either were told about this place in the Tower of Heaven, or maybe you got here. I don't think the druid, no, because he tells you where to get it. So yeah, it's kind of funny. So this adventure is kind of like diamond shaped, right? You start at one place and then it kind of like stretches out, and you could go to like some multiple places, and then it ends here.
Yeah, because you could get here multiple ways, but you better have the orb.
Yeah, you need the falling star.
Sorry, you need the falling star.
Okay. So this starts with, so we're on page 27. This starts with giving you the background of the Smurfnebly that live here. So it doesn't specifically say the Underdark, because this has nothing to do with any sort of setting. This is a setting agnostic adventure. But so basically a small group of Smurfnebly, when they were young, they ventured away from their kin in search of precious stones. And then they found this glowing dome that was half of a prismatic sphere. So it's very much this, like the sphere that they have in the Tower of Heaven.
Laid here probably by, whoever really invented the books in the first place and was the actual person who was able to divine all these things, right?
Right. That's kind of, I think, what this is hinting at, because they're the same thing. And then near this dome, there is a scroll that had the prophecy of sometime in the future, someone would bring a magical, well, not a magical, it just says a black stone, that would unlock the dome, and the dome's contents would be exchanged for that stone. So they are unaware that the books are inside the dome. Like, they don't know what's in the dome. They just know that this prophecy is coming. And then the stone would be like such an awesome stone that it says it would require a lifetime of care and effort to produce the greatest of all gems. Yes. So they just care about that. They don't care about the stuff in the dome.
Right.
And then it basically says the Smurfnebly that saw this prophecy became greedy, and they basically made like a little society around the dome. They built like a small city with like a lab and like all the stuff that Smurfnebly want around the city, and they broke off from the rest of their kin basically because of the greed for this stone.
Right.
And then the most the most interesting thing about this is that they've devoted a bunch of their time to making machines, and they have created a machine called the Machine a Bezorg. So that's MASCHIN -I BOZORG.
And I was going to say it's a Maschin Ibezorg.
Machine Ibezorg machine. I thought it was supposed to be pronounced machine, but
there's no E.
Yeah.
So machine
Ibezorg.
Anyway,
we're gonna go with machine. Machine.
The machines that are the Bezorg machines.
Yeah. So they basically created these things that are they're tanks that look like domes. There are these completely bizarre machines that kind of look like giant Roombas. If it was shaped like a dome, that shoot out steam out of their out of the windows that they have on there.
Yeah, they spent all this time making steam shooting Roombas, basically.
Right. So they also so they've created this society here. This happened like hundreds of years ago. So all of the people that found this dome, it describes them as that they are now old, even by the standards of like deep domes. Which, so hundreds of years have passed. And in this time, they have built these machines, but they have also befriended a pair of red dragons in the area as well.
And also, there's a bunch of Gibberlings that are outside the lair, which is kind of a weird thing. So, so outside the lair, or outside the forge, is like a town of Gibberlings. Which is also, it's just kind of like a what? It's like, okay.
One thing that's also interesting about the Machine of Ibezorg, however you want to say it, there's multiple times in the text where it refers to them as Bezorgs. So it'll be like, the encounter with the small Bezorg in the outer hall. So they don't use the full word sometimes. So maybe we should just call them Bezorgs.
Yeah, maybe it's just fine if they're called, let's just call it Bezorgs.
Okay. So basically, the adventure, I do have a note here that it doesn't seem this adventure is not super interested in you in exploring. Like, it basically says, when you talk to the Elder Sage, he will give you more than enough directions to get here. There's going to be like no difficulty getting here, because this adventure is just like, we saw like a lot of hex crawls and stuff in the adventures that we've read, or like a lot of I don't want to use the word filler, but like a lot of. They made sure to make content for the exploration part of this. This is just like, you're in the Tower of Heaven, you make it here. Like, they don't care about the interceding adventure.
Right. I do think that it's interesting that the first thing that shows up is like, you get attacked. So you come to this area where the forge is, and you get attacked by, well, I guess we're going to go to the lair.
The cavalry charge.
Yeah, so the cavalry charge. Basically, like, there's a outside the forge is a Gibberling village. So, like, the Snurfinolin are, they have befriended not only the dragons, but also this, like, group of villagers who, I guess, help them, or maybe whatever they do. And does it really even say what they do? They're just there.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just live here. It seems like.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, sure.
And they also have horse minimals, which I think are tiny horses, which is terrifying.
I thought they had subterranean lizards that they ride a lizard. I don't know, it's horse minimals. Okay, yeah, sure.
Let me just look that up.
And then they have lizards. So there's like, it's kind of weird. So there's this like, they're gonna attack by Gibberlings, and then off to the side of the village is a bunch of caves where they put the lizards. So they have a bunch of lizards. So Gibberlings and lizards, and they also have these horse minimals, which, you love horse minimals.
All minimals, a contraction of miniature animals, are small mammals. They were, and possibly are yet, created by means of spells similar to those that were successful in creating giant reptiles, insects, amphibians, and the like. So it is just a small horse. And I think the insinuation is that, like, someone shrank horses with magic, and then they eventually like bred into small horses.
That makes sense.
So terrifying. So they have like
That's not terrifying. They're tiny, adorable horses, Kyle.
I don't know if they would be adorable. Anyways, we'll move past my fear of horses. And but it is kind of this. I do think it's a pretty funny sight that these gibberlings are on like gibberling-sized horses,
Right.
Because that would be like it would be like a horse with normal proportions, like shrunk down to the size of like a dog. I would think like a medium or large dog. That's kind of funny.
Well, it is kind of funny, but it's also kind of weird. Like, you show up to this place, you basically have 20 mounted gibberlings attack you, right? And then you're like, okay, well, that was dealt. And then you go to where the forge is supposed to be, and there's more gibberlings there, except there's children, like female gibberlings and some lizards, and they all fight to the death. There's a very interesting sort of thing of like beginning of this section of the adventure.
Yeah, it straight up just says they will fight fearlessly to the death. It gives the word fearlessly. So they basically just charge you until you kill them all.
Like, how do you... Okay, wait. I don't remember how you do this. So how do you actually talk to them?
I don't think you do. I think you have to get into...
So you all that happens. You have to like kill a bunch of gibberlings and some lizards. You then go across the bridge to go to the outer hall, which has the Bezorgs.
Yeah, so you know where you have to go. So I think this is like... So obviously you could just come in here and just slaughter everything if you want. But I think the idea is like you know where you're supposed to go, and in the way is this gibberling village. And it's like, how does your party want to deal with this?
Well, they're all hostile and attack you, no matter what. It says it in the module, so... You're not negotiating with gibberlings.
You're definitely not negotiating.
No. With the gibberlings, no.
But you could sneak past them or something.
Well, I guess you could try to sneak past them. But it basically, like it says, a squad of 20 hairy, naked humanoids mounted on tiny horses burst out from behind a mountain of spur and charge towards you. So, like...
And they are naked, too.
So I guess if you're not already sneaking up to this whole thing... Because they're concealed. They're, like, waiting for you.
And it's in this valley, so you have to, like...
Right.
You're kind of, like, you have to go by this village to get to the forge. Which is, that's that's K4, the outer hall. I don't have a physical copy of this one, because the physical copy was, like, $50.
So, the way it seems to work is you kill all the gibberlings, or are probably going to kill all the gibberlings, or whatever you're going to do with them. There's some tunnels that have lizards in them. You could probably ignore that or not. You go across, there's a river or a stream that goes through the valley, and then it's coming out of one of the sides of the mountains. You go across the bridge of the stream, and then you go into the inner hall. No, sorry. You go into the outer hall. The outer hall has, it looks like just one of these things, one of the Bezorgs. So you basically have to fight that.
Which is going to be a bizarre thing, right? Because you're like, at the entrance, you're just going to be describing this tank, this dome tank thing.
And then south of that are 3 storerooms that have coal, oil, raw materials, glass, ingots, like iron, copper, like basically stuff to man a forge, basically, like create a forge, like man one. So you find all that to the south, but there's a door to the east. You take that, and that gets you into the inner hall. And the inner hall has a lot of stuff. So I think the idea, and don't quote me here, the idea is that you fight that thing, you're like, oh, that was really tough. And then you go to the inner hall, and you see that there are now 5 of those things, and and 7 of the Snortnivelin and 7 of the lizards, and you're like, okay, maybe we got to start so that's where the negotiation should probably start. Like, you see all that, you're like, oh, okay, this is going to be really bad. And then they're like, hey, so do you want to fight all of us, or do you want to tell me why you're here?
Yeah, so this village, so the village blocking your way is obviously like they wanted to have this encounter. I'm curious if the author was like, hey, I want to put a combat encounter in here, but like you're not negotiating with them, or at least if you go by what the book is written, they're not intended to be negotiated with. And you don't know, you just know where the entrance is to this thing. So or at least where this valley is. I do want to talk a little bit more about the outer hall.
Yeah.
Because I just want to read the description. So when you walk in here, it says, as the doors swing open, you see an empty hall. It is grand but plain, with wall, ceiling, and floor polished to a metal-like sheen. In the center of the floor is an oval metallic dome about 8 feet across. So when you fight the Bezorg, it has save versus breath because it shoots like steam it can shoot steam like beams out of it, like steam cones. And then it also can shoot darts that stun and slow.
And it seems like there's one in here for you to fight to find out like how tough it's going to be. So that when you go into you go into the other room, the inner hall, now there's 6 of them. And one that's like bigger than all the other ones.
That is a trope I love. The like, when one thing is problematic and then it turns into like, oh no, there's 8 of them now.
Yeah.
Love that trope.
No, I think that's a really good way to go with it.
And yeah, it is. So this part of the adventure, right? It's kind of intended to where, and we see this in the UK adventures, they want you to like talk to things a little more. And this is, I think that's supposed to be a subtle hint to the players, like, hey, maybe you should, instead of dealing with 5 of these, you should probably talk to the deep gnomes here. Have we talked about like what the Smurf Neblin are? I don't think we really have.
No, I don't think we have.
Okay.
I do want to point this, like we were going to talk about the Smurf Neblin. It's sort of interesting that we have like these dark anagram races, everything. So like there's dark elves, there's dark dwarves, and there's dark gnomes, and there's dark, all these sort of dark opposed races, which I think is sort of really interesting in old school D&D. And I mean, in D&D in general, it's sort of interesting. Obviously, like old school D&D, those are always evil. Like those are evil people. They're the dark people. They're bad. But we've sort of outgrown that a little bit and said like, oh, well, maybe they just had they grew up in terrible places. So yeah, there's like a million interpretations of Smurf Nebly. They're also called deep gnomes. It's kind of like this type of thing has been rewritten over D&D's history, but the current way that D&D kind of writes things is that they don't write specific species as like naturally born evil. At least things that are like sentient or that players can play as, they don't like to do that. This version of D&D was not like that. I'm looking at the Fiend Folio. Although actually the Fiend Folio, they are neutral good tendencies. Oh, and here they're neutral evil tendencies for this one.
Well, so that makes sense with, I think what they're going with, because they broke away from the rest of their kin and then they were greedy and they kind of stayed here. So they're like the more evil, greedy deep gnomes, I guess.
Right.
These characters are often portrayed as evil. Like even there's a deep gnome in Baldur's Gate 3 and he's kind of portrayed as like pretty evil. Or, self-interested at least. But yes, D&D, there's been multiple versions of the game, and the current way that they write these characters is that they don't want any species to be that are sentient. They don't like when they're like naturally born evil. This version of the game, there's a lot of like monsters are there to be killed and be monsters, and they're not. We haven't started doing that yet. Okay, so.
Well, I think the idea is you get to room 6, you negotiate with them, you have something they really, 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 really want.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole reason why they're here in the first place.
I do want to also note the Bozorgs will only attack in self-defense, so the party can kind of realize that depending on how they approach it. So it's going to be like a pretty interesting little encounter because they're dealing with like a weird tank machine thing that will only attack in self-defense. But when it does, it's going to shoot like jets of steam and shoot darts at them.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of attacks. It has, number of attacks is 4 for just the regular ones.
It also even says that it will fire warning darts. Like, to discourage the adventurers from... Where is it? Yeah, the Bozargs will only attack in self-defense or if the party approaches either of the doors in the eastern part of the hall. To discourage the adventurers from doing so, the Bozargs will puff out harmless but ominous jets of steam and will fire occasional darts over the heads of the adventurers. So it's like kind of obvious, like, hey, maybe you should parlay with these people.
Yeah, or not do anything yet. Because basically, like, after a certain period of time, all this Nerfneblin show up. The Kagus Nerfneblin show up. And are like, hey, what are you doing here?
And they do talk to you in common, and they say, peace, do you come for trade or war? And then immediately, if you talk about the... Basically, when you're role-playing these people, it's like, if you talk about the falling star, it's like the thing they've been literally waiting hundreds of years for. Yeah. So... It's as a DM, that would be like a pretty fun little role playing thing. The way the negotiation goes, it's like they are desperate for the shooting star, so they will basically just be like, you can have whatever's in the dome, like that's all yours. We don't care. Give us the stone. And it also just is like, it also says like if the adventurers want it, the Smurfneblin will also just take them to the dome and be like, that's where it is. Do you want to do the exchange right here? Like, they aren't necessarily trying to backstab you because they don't care about what's in the dome.
Right. And they know also, like, they'll set, basically there's like, so on the map, there's a dormitory, which is to the north. They're probably not going to let you go there. You're basically going to fight your way there. Through all of this, if you wanted to get to there, they're not going to like show that to you. What they are going to do is go a little bit more slightly south and east, and then that goes into their workshop. And then also there's a portcullis or some kind of cage, and that's where they'll hold all their giant lizards. That's to the east. And then when you go south down from there, you get down into the workshop. And basically, like, they're going to set up the workshop to explode. Once they, like, figure out that, like, they're going to get the shimmering, they're going to get the star, the orb, they're going to set up the workshop to explode.
Yeah, so you do the trade. You get the books in the dome. Because, like I was saying, it even says where is it? There's a thing about... They will not attempt to trick the party. They will not attack without provocation and will unhesitatingly give up the books for the shooting star. They will instinctively recognize the true Black Rock and will not accept an invitation. So it's not a very hard... There's like no negotiation to happen because they're just like, give us the stone. And the stone is also like not magic or anything. It is worth money, but it seems like they purposely made it not worth that much money in this module so that you want to give it up. And then you can have the books.
Yeah, once you bring the shooting star into the room, the sphere vanishes, the books show up. So, like, you go in there, the books are there, the server will be like, okay, here's your books, give us a sphere. So, if, like, you don't give them the sphere, you attack them, I guess you could do that, and that would be a disaster. Or you just give them the star and they leave. And
yeah, in the Shimmering Dome area, it does say... I do like this description. If the shooting star is taken into the room, the sphere will vanish, revealing a neat stack of 20 leather-bound books.
Yep.
So I just like that because I like the idea of like these gnomes have just been standing around hundreds of years, like theorizing what's in this mysterious dome, and then it opens and it's 20 books.
That's like books. Like, okay. So yeah, they set the workshop to explode, and so when it explodes, that's going to call the dragons. Yeah. So, once they do the trade, they will leave and they will go back to where they came from. So, like under the earth somewhere. And because they don't want to leave this laboratory and all their stuff behind, they basically set it to explode. And I don't think they even it doesn't mention, they don't even like warn you, right? They just do it. Yeah. They kind of want you to get eaten by the dragons, and they kind of want you to just be like, go away.
Yeah. So it says, when they pass through the workshop after the exchange, they will set the machines to run out of control. The machines will shake violently and the whole layer will begin to tremble as if an earthquake were in progress. 5 rounds later, the steam cylinder will explode, causing the workshop to cave in, thus blocking any pursuit. And it says the DM should not prevent the players from concluding that the whole place will collapse. So it's going to be very obvious that they're doing it, but they don't warn you. They don't say like, okay, you should get out. We're going to blow it up. They just blow it up, or they just set off the self-destruct button, I guess.
Yeah. And basically they like the sort of Neblin, they like collapse. They basically go through to the south. So they're like to the north, there's the sphere and the prismatic stuff. Supposedly that opens up, you get the books, and then they're like, okay, well, we got our orb, so bye. So they go to 11, which is basically a secret door, a secret entrance to the next layer. They're not going to let you follow them. They basically sneak off to there. They blow, after they set the workshop to explode, they basically leave, collapse the tunnel behind them, and then you're stuck in here with this thing that's all collapsing. So apparently, the idea is that like you run out, obviously, like, well, I'm not staying here because an earthquake and everything can explode. You run out, and I guess you go to the back to the valley, and after the explosion happens, then 2 red dragons show up.
Yes, so K-12, the Red Dragon's lair, they live, so it has, where's the dragon? That's where they talk about the attack, right?
The weird part is that I don't think anywhere in the maps do I see, let me see if I can find the Red Dragon lair. I don't think it's on here. Oh, no, it is. Yeah, there.
I see it on page, K-12, it's to the north.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's Gris Delphar and Pyro Phoenix. Pyro Phoenix is such a cheesy red dragon name.
Okay.
So they are medium-sized sub-adult red dragons. There's a layer in this valley that they live in. They do not reveal themselves to the players until they do not reveal themselves when they arrive.
Right. It's when they leave, the explosion happens, you walk out and into the valley, and suddenly, after everything's exploded, there's 2 red dragons to deal with.
Right, and the red dragons, it did say they were allies, right?
Yes, they had allied with the
They have cultivated their friendship with a pair of red dragons. So they don't tell the red dragons like, hey, as soon as at least the adventure doesn't say this. They don't say, hey, as soon as we get the shooting star, we're blowing up and going back to into the earth. Right. So from the dragons' perspective, who are friends with the deep gnomes, adventurers show up and then there's an explosion and they're walking out of the cave with some books.
Right.
So the encounter with the dragons, we're kind of skipping around here, but the encounter with the dragons is page 30. So yeah, the explosion will alarm both of them, and they will fly out to investigate.
Yeah, and it says you can prepare for the dragons, to fight the dragons inside the forge. So just the forge part is going to be destroyed, but you could hide in the cave and wait for the dragons to try to come into the cave before you fight them. So you could do, you've got some... you don't just have, you don't necessarily have to walk out. You walk out and suddenly there's 2 dragons or a dragon that's coming towards you and you're like, oh, screw this. And you go back into the forge. And they're going to go into the forge, but you might be a better place to fight them. Yeah,
because then they can't fly away. Whenever you're fighting a dragon, you do have to deal with the fact that they can just fly in the air and fly in a circle and then come down and breathe on you and then fly away.
Right, and if they're in a tunnel, probably only one of them could come at a time, and yeah, so you would have some advantages there.
I do really like this description too. So it has dialogue or a box text in the encounter with the dragons. So once you get all the books and you're leaving the cave, it says, as you leave the mouth of the tunnel, you hear a thin, blood-freezing cry and the baneful sound of leathery wings from the sky above. 2 red dragons, scales a-glister, are circling overhead. Their heads move from side to side, scanning the valley for prey. Even from this great distance, you can see their awesome bulk and huge gaping maws. Fortunately, they have not yet espied you.
Yep.
So you do get some planning time. And the dragons, it does say that they can talk.
Yes.
So they are capable of some sort of negotiation. And I think the way that this is written is they're probably just super confused on what the hell is happening.
Right. And they also are sort of like, oh, yummy adventurers. Delicious.
Right. They are chaotic evil. So
right.
If you want to go with that, they might just, not care enough about these adventurers to not eat them.
And you can go to their once you defeat them, hopefully you do, you can go to their lair.
Yes, K-12, it does have their lair, and they have just a ridiculous amount of... so it looks like they have Elven Chain, Longsword +1, Scimitar +1, Crossbow +1, and then a lot of gold.
A lot of gold. A lot of jewelry and gold, because they're dragons. And that's what dragons do.
It says the total value of the jewelry is 28,100 gold pieces.
Yeah, a lot of gold. That's also a lot of experience.
All right. So that's basically how this adventure ends. The next page just gives the Bozorg and memory web information, which you kind of already read into them.
And then the idea is that you then take all the books, go back to the tower, and then give those books to Shalfrey.
Oh, right. And I do want to go over the rewards he gives you, because we didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, we did, but not in detail. So when you give him the rewards, there's a little table here for fighters, clerics, magic users, and thieves and monks. And you roll a d6 and you get a specific item related to that. And this is the first time we have seen like loot divvied up based on classes, I think. I don't think that we've seen an adventure do that yet. Yeah.
It's pretty cool, actually. It's really nice.
So for fighters, you could get a flame tongue short sword +1, chainmail +2, shield +2, composite longbow +1, axe throwing, a throwing axe +1, or an ion stone that's pearly white.
So for clerics, a staff of curing and a bag of tricks. Or a bag of tricks, rather.
Magic users, a ring of protection +1, bracers of defense of AC 6, pearl of power 1x for second level, a portable hole, a staff of striking, or a necklace of prayer beads with curling, blessing, and karma beads.
And for thieves and subclasses and monks, a gauntlets of dexterity, or leather armor +1, or a sling of seeking, or a paraph of proof against poison +3, or a dagger +1, +2 versus large opponents, or Bucknard's Everfull purse, gold, silver, and electrum.
So, yeah, so the adventurers do get something based on their class for going through this entire ordeal of running around this valley and dealing with tanks and deep gnomes and politics and Darrow and all this stuff.
Negotiations. Yeah.
This is kind of a like hodgepodge adventure. There's like a lot. This is like a charcuterie board of just stuff. Like
adventuring. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So Kyle, what do you think now that we've read When a Star Falls? What do you think about When a Star Falls?
Generally, I think it's pretty solid. I think it works really well for people that haven't played a lot of D&D, actually, because it's kind of straightforward in a lot of ways, and also gives you sort of an idea of what you could potentially do in D&D and what not to do. I think it has some really great ideas, and I like it. I would run this if I were thinking of running it. I think it has a lot of. Back in the day, I definitely would have run it. Yeah, I think it has a lot going for it. I generally really liked it.
I'm just taking a quick look at... Yeah, so it looks like the 5th edition one is for 4 to 6 4th level characters. I was going to say, if this was like a low-level adventure, I would for sure run this for like a new group. Like, this is a really cool... Like, I think this adventure has a lot of D&D in it. It's kind of like in video games, they have this idea when you're making a game called a vertical slice, which is you basically make a demo for a game that includes everything that your game is about in the demo. And this is like, to me, this is like a vertical slice of D&D. It has everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a little light on the exploring, and I don't think the module is too interested in that, but you do kind of like explore around each individual section. So it's not like there's no exploring. It's just like doing it in a different way.
It's not very much of an open world concept. Like, it's not an open world sort of adventure. It's not like you're going to go and go search around everywhere to find things. It's like it kind of tells you. I mean, from the beginning, from the memory web, it tells you kind of where everything you need to know about what to do. It doesn't give it to you directly, but it, you have access to it.
One thing I will say From other adventures that we have read comparatively, this is the easiest to insert into a game, because you just have to, that you do to start this adventure is the players kill a weird monster. Like, you kill the memory web and then you start the adventure.
Yep. You see something, you might see something in the sky, but yeah.
Yeah, you could insert these little sections into your game if your players are going from one place to another. Like the other adventures that we've read, specifically, you have to sit down and be like, I am running the Lost City. You are doing the Lost City. It's hard to insert into other adventures, and I think like this is a really interesting. The way that this adventure starts is like the most interesting thing about the adventure for sure. And I think that it's really creative how you could just insert it into, like, you could do When a Star Falls as part, like, during your other big adventure. Like, it could be a side thing that your characters do. Like, oh, when we were chasing the Grand Duke Dr. Evil to the other side of the world, and then we killed this memory web, and this thing happened, and we went on this side adventure. Like, you could do that with this adventure easily.
Yeah, I also like the idea that this doesn't even have to be the main event. Like, you could have that memory web thing happen, all sorts of other stuff go on for your adventures, like, whatever you have going on in your grand campaign, you could come back to this. So it's like, you could set those areas in other places and have other things going on, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, well, remember when you had to go do this? Well, that now relates to this other piece over here. So like, like you have the memory web thing happen, and then you could have other things going on in your campaign, and then come back to, you stumble upon the Darrow barrel, area, or you found where the cleric is, or sorry, the druid is. So it's like, it's kind of an interesting thing. You don't necessarily have to make it. Don't need to have this thing all linear in a way. You could have other things going on in your campaign and come back to this adventure, which is sort of fun.
The other thing, too, I'm kind of realizing about this as we talk about it is that this is, if you want to run a D&D game that has weird monsters in it, because, obviously the Smurf Nebly, they've been in multiple editions of the game, and you could play as them, and like 5th edition, you could play as Deep Gnome and all of this stuff. Like, at the time this came out, the Darrow, like an adventure featuring the Darrow and the Smurf Nebly, and their weird tanks that they've made, and the memory web, it's like you're not fighting normal things any part of this adventure. There's no orcs, there's no goblins, there's gibberlings, and they're tiny horses. Goblins. Yeah, but you're not fighting like anything normal. The most normal thing is the little section with the political thriller, I guess, that's going on in the Wizard's Tower, but everywhere else you're fighting something weird. You're fighting there's giant beavers. Like, this is like, what? If you really want to play an adventure that just has a bunch of really weird monsters in it, this is certainly one you could run.
Yeah, it's a really good one.
I guess the last thing that I will say about this adventure is, if you listen to this, insert a memory web into your adventure somewhere. It doesn't have to be to start this specific module, but like, just put a memory web somewhere. It's such a cool monster. It's the most creative monster we've read about thus far.
Yeah, it's totally cool. That's a totally fun monster to deal with, and could start a whole campaign with a memory web.
Even without the memory part, it's like an animated mass. It describes it as an animated mass of fiber, which is just like, that's so weird. I love it. Like, imagine getting attacked by like cotton, basically. Like,
yeah. But it hurts, and it's taking your memories away.
Yeah, it's draining your brain power. Join us next session for the Mark of Amber, the 1995 adventure that is the sequel to Castle Amber. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Make sure to follow us on your podcast app of choice, and follow us on Blue Sky at adventuresgonemad.bsky.social. Subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/@adventuresgonemad. Are you enjoying Adventures Gone Mad? If so, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Did you play one of Star Falls? We want to hear about it. Contact us at adventuresgonemad@gmail.com. Leave a comment on Spotify or YouTube and join us next time for Mark of Amber. Remember that one time we recorded and there was a Discord outage?
Yes.
That was funny. And we were like, what is happening?
What the fuck?
Well, the funny thing is, normally with an outage, I'd be like, I wonder what my friends on Discord are talking about being down.
Yeah.
But I can't do that if Discord's down.
You can go on Discord to find out what a Discord outage is.
No half measures, Walt.
That's fine.
And the Gambato is a bizarre-looking corpse. Damn it. And the yeah, sometimes when I'm trying to get the edit done and I do this to myself, I get really mad. I'm like, God damn it. I have to look it up. Fuck.
God damn it.
Making more work for myself in the future. The Q. It talks about the Q that's happening.
Coup.
Coup?
You sound like Q. I'm like,
Q.
they're queuing?
Coup.
No, coup. A coup.
Okay. So let me start over. Thank you, Siri. I really needed that.
Yeah, Siri, thanks.
I didn't get that.
Shut up! I'm recording a podcast. Shut up!
Oh my god. Okay, let me open the book. Let me open my stuff.
That had one of the funniest bugs in the game that broke Xbox. Did you know about that?
No.
So there's this bug in Baldur's Gate 3. You know the part where he's attached to the windmill and they're circling him and he's screaming? So there was a bug that made that sound effect keep playing over and over again no matter where you were at.
That's great.
And like my friend was it was Xbox only, and my friend was playing on Xbox and he was having it, and we were looking up all these like there's all these like convoluted things where it was like, okay, go to this place and then go to your camp and then get everyone out of your party and then save the game and reload the game and then go to this place, like all these steps to try to fix it.
Oh,
and they just had to patch it. Yeah.
Like, why fix it?
But yeah, like he was playing for hours while that guy was screaming in the background.
That's amazing.
So that's such a good bug. I love a good game bug.
A staff of curling or a bag of tricks?
A staff of curing. You said curling. Like the sport.
I thought I said, let me do it over again then.
All right, join us next week for the adventure Mark of Amber.
Week.
Sorry.
Next session.
God damn it. I always do that.